There we are. All right. We're live here for episode, and I looked it up, 164. So
Ooh,
that's a
that's a good
number.
number right there.
Yeah, I guess it works out pretty well. Yep. Nice late night Saturday because Easter, busy times. But the episode will release on YouTube per the normal schedule. But anyway, welcome everyone. Uh, you know the drill by now. I've only released a few episodes. So we'll hop right in. So introduce yourself for us.
Hello, everyone. You may know me as BrianMp16, the Animal Crossing speedrunner. That is primarily what I'm known for, but I do have a history of many different games. But I think for this discussion, we'll focus on Animal Crossing. And I've been speedrunning Animal Crossing since the beginning. I started Animal Crossing speedrunning,
Hmm.
and just Animal Crossing in general. Big fan. Love the game from the GameCube version all the way to New Horizons, the most recent one as of April 4th, 2026. And yeah, I've got a lot of history to share with you all today. So thank you very much, GTAs, for having me on today, and looking forward to talking about my Animal Crossing history.
Yep. Thank you for coming on. And yep, we'll definitely dive into plenty of information about that, I'm sure. But to start off, I gotta ask how speedrunning in its entirety started for you.
Oh yeah, great question. It started actually with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time back in 2005 for me. That's when it started. And that was over 20 years ago. YouTube just started, and I was mostly watching videos on the old speedrunning website, Speedrun. Oh man, it was called TSA. I was trying to remember what it was even uh, an abbreviation for. But it started off with, oh yeah, Speed Demos Archive. Duh. It's just been a while.
Yeah.
Speed Demos Archive videos back in the day, that was my inspiration. And I just tried doing a 100% run of Ocarina of Time segmented, because that used to be a thing. I never finished that run, but I did get pretty far. And so that's sort of how I started with speedrunning, was through The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yep. Definitely a popular entry point, I've noticed.
Yes, especially for some old school runners such as myself.
Yep. Um, so did it involve just like learning all the glitches and wanting to try to execute them segmented?
Yeah, I pretty much just loved Ocarina of Time, and I wanted to replay it over and over and over. And I figured, well, I might as well get better at it. And yeah, learning all the glitches was obviously a very interesting point for me, and just getting better and sort of doing something that felt meaningful to myself and something that others could watch me do. So I could get myself out there on the internet. And at the time, I was young. So it was sort of an exciting time to be talking with people and trying to achieve a goal, even though it's kind of arbitrary, but it's still a goal that you're passionate about. And it was just good times speedrunning, learning glitches, and playing the game that we all know and love.
Hmm. So a lot of like the community aspect was in the forums of the website.
Yeah, there was a lot of community within the forums. I was on other forums as well, such as animalcrossingcommunity.com. There I spoke with Runner Guy 2489 frequently back in 2005 through 2007 or 2008. And we talked Animal Crossing and Ocarina of Time.
Makes sense, and he's still around too. So
He
speed,
is, yes, he's still speedrunning.
yeah, you can never escape, you know. But that's a good thing,
Yeah,
right?
once you get the speedrunning bug, you just never leave until you get another record, and then you just try to get another record,
Hmm.
and then another one. That's right. It's too fun.
Yeah, definitely an addiction, but there are a lot worse things to get addicted to, I think. So
Yeah, it's just a good way to play the games you love and have a fresh taste on it, as well as just being a part of a community.
hmm so that's how everything started, and I guess just kind of what happened next.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. It's just what was after that. Well, I eventually, wanted to bring speedrunning into Animal Crossing since that has always been my favorite game, at least since childhood. And it wasn't clear how it would be, a game that you could speedrun at first. So there's actually a precursor to speedrunning Animal Crossing, and we can get into that now if you want, or if you have any more questions for me up to then, let me know.
Yeah, we can be in there.
Sounds good. Yeah. So aside from Ocarina of Time, I also participated in several other gaming challenges over the years, including Super Mario 64, the A Button Challenge
Oh,
back in
really?
2010. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of history in mini games early on.
I didn't know that.
So
I have a lot of experience with A Button Challenge myself. There's
is that
have
right?
you heard of retro achievements?
Of course, yeah. Then
Yes.
it's kind of new as in the last few years.
There's a whole subset for the A Button Challenge for Mario 64, and I'm one of the. I don't think even 10 people have done it yet, but I'm one of those 10 that have fully completed it.
Nice. Let's go, GTAs. That's awesome.
So
Congrats.
I know,
Yeah,
and I hang out with a lot of the current people that do that kind of stuff. So I'm very
that
familiar with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I go way back with that. 2000 and I think it's even a little earlier. There used to be monthly competitions, I think, if I recall correctly, to improve the number of A presses. And I think there were some tasks around the A button challenge. So, how fast can you do this star by pressing the A button in 0 presses on this for this particular star? And you had a month to submit videos, or maybe it was a week. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I can find the video on it. Um, let's see. I don't know. For these interviews, do you have the interviewer share their screen ever, or is it mostly just
I don't have a
discussion?
way to like share it with the way I have it
That's all right.
set
I can
up.
explain it then.
Yeah. But
Okay,
any links like in the chat you can provide. Those are fine.
oh, links in chat.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll work.
That's like the best I can do, I
That's how you do
guess.
it. All right, let's see. Yeah, well, I have to go really far back to find this, but it was Rainbow Ride was my favorite one that I achieved.
Oh man.
And it might take me a minute to find this, but Bismuth did reference me in his A Button Challenge playlist,
Yes.
and part one, I think. But anyways,
Yeah, you
as I
predate
pull it up,
Pan and like the big tassing scene that came from that
yeah,
community.
yeah, I was pre-panning for the A Button Challenge, which is kind of crazy to say. I only have a few Super Mario 64 videos. Oh, here we go. Oh, I have one in Wet Dry World that I published in 2008. I completely forgot about that one. I'll link it in chat.
Sure.
100 coin star and 1 A press from 2008. Nice. Fun
Wow.
times.
Was
Yeah.
that with the water manipulation? Was that a thing yet?
Well, I don't remember. I did not, I mean, I do vaguely recall that. No, I don't think it was. I think it
Okay,
was me literally swimming with the B button until I collected enough coins.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what because the retro achievement set they don't make you do like record level stuff of current year. Just like a lot of it is pretty hard though. Like I know in TTC,
Yeah.
if you remember, you have to climb the rotating things at the start with 0, and that is the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah. The one with the red coins on them.
Yes.
Yep, those are good ones. That's a tough one. Can you do that non? Yeah, you can do that non TAS. It's just kind of hard.
Yeah, I had to do it a lot for that set. It was a time. Um,
Yeah.
and you brought up Rainbow Ride. Yeah, I remember for the 100 coin star having to clone a bunch of coins on the ship. So,
Yep. Oh yeah, I talked with Bob Mario 511 a lot back then. I remember now. That is an old that goes way back, man. I do have quite a history.
yeah,
And it's kind of fun for me to revisit a lot of this. So thank you for just having me revisit some of my own history.
I'm just excited to learn about it. I completely forgot you were involved in this challenge
Mhm.
actually.
All right, I got 5 videos on it, and the earliest one goes back to July of 2007.
Wow.
And I'll link that. That's my tricky triangles in one A press. I was actually pretty proud of this one. This is the one that got me the most interested in the A button challenge, and I've actually been following it for the last 20 years. I haven't been contributing, since then, but I've
Hmm.
been following it, and yeah, I've loved it.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
it's really
sick.
fun.
Yeah, I
Yep.
got really into it thanks to the Bismuth video. And also
Yeah.
I've had friends that are highly involved in that community for a while, so I naturally like got interested in it because I just hang out there so much. I mean, literally
Yeah.
like 2 hours ago I was in a call with Pannon, so it all
Really?
works out. Yeah, I mean, I am
Wow.
a frequent member of like the Mario 64 A button challenge stuff. Um
That's pretty cool.
so yeah, just interesting. But yeah, obviously I watched all of Bismuth's content to really understand the history behind it when
Oh
he
yeah,
first
there's a
started
lot of cool
releasing
history.
those. So
Yep. I'll link one more, but then we can move on to Animal Crossing.
hey, don't worry.
So
I'm actually quite. This is something I know. See, I don't know much about Animal Crossing, but I know a lot about A button challenge stuff. So it's pretty
well, here's
cool.
some more history for you then. I'll link all 5 of them that I've got, so that way you've got every single in every single video I've made on the A button challenge. I did post in a lot of forums as well,
Mm.
which oh, there's Cosmic. What's up, Cosmic in chat? My good
um,
friend Cosmic.
yeah. That actually brings up a question I have then. So back in the day, for where did you discuss this kind of stuff? Because it's not really speedrun related, so it wouldn't be like an SDA thing. But surely to
Yeah.
share the information had to be somewhere.
Oh, this one was simple. Just good old game facts.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. There was an IRC client, an internet relay client, but I wasn't in that for Mario 64. That was for Ocarina of Time and then later Animal Crossing.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So timeline for my gaming life started in, well, we already said 2005 for OOT speedrunning. Then I looked at different. I was on GameFAQs and I did different challenges with Mario 64, some other random games that I liked, but the big ones were Mario 64, Zelda, and Animal Crossing. And I guess let's go ahead and dive into Animal Crossing, unless you want to talk about Mario 64 anymore.
It sounds like you kind of covered all that. Um, got
Yeah.
got got the historical archives pulled up.
So I don't
I'll
even
definitely
know
have to
how
click
far.
those.
I don't even know if Bismuth knows all 5 of these videos that I link. I only linked 4, but I got one more. But yeah, there you go. If you're interested in some more Mario 64 A button history, there you go. There's a little bit more for you guys.
Yep. I'll definitely take
Um,
a look because I'm curious what the strats look like. Like if the retro achievements, if I had to do the same things, because again, they're
mm,
not like record level. They're like
yeah.
a lot of them are hard. Like again, TTC was really hard. Rainbow Ride cloning was hard. Um,
Hmm.
you had to do all of Dire Docks 100 without pushing the button, or I think it was half an A press maybe.
Yeah, you held A, so
Yeah, it
that
was
way
a
you
half an
can.
A press, so you had to get all of those red coins by constantly swimming back and cloning them, and you couldn't drop the shell a single time. And oh my god, it took me like an hour. But
That is quite the achievement, though. Well done.
yeah, no, it was fun. And then again, because I talk a lot with both the ABC tasters and the real time ABC people, they were able to help me out quite a bit. So that was
Yeah, it's
nice.
cool.
But yeah, I've gotten 70 stars in 50 A presses because
Okay,
of that. So not
70
bad.
stars and 58 presses.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, is that one of the retro achievement?
Yeah, that was the that was
Okay,
one of the ones is
that makes sense. Nice.
yeah, beat the whole
Cool,
game
cool.
with only 50. So obviously you can't really BLJ. So you got to do it the
Well,
normal
yeah.
way. But
Yeah,
that took a long time, but yeah, that was fun to
you
do.
did
That
it.
was a fun one.
You know what else takes a long time on retro achievements? Animal Crossing,
I
getting 1 billion bells.
I can imagine that would take a while, especially since I am a little familiar with your history as it pertains to that. So,
There you go. So yeah, apparently some people have done it,
mm,
and I'm very curious to know what they did to accomplish that. Because from my understanding, retro achievements doesn't allow you to use glitches unless it specifies you can use glitches. But I also don't know
Hmm.
for sure. You would know better.
Um,
Because obviously with the A button challenge, you're gonna need glitches.
yeah,
But
I think they allow glitches all fine. Again, it probably
okay,
depends on how the achievement set is programmed. Um,
gotcha.
like, yeah, for some games, like there's a lot of bonus sets, right? And a lot of those will use
Yeah,
heavy glitched things.
sure.
So, uh,
So if that's the case, I am very curious if I think from what I heard, maybe a dozen people have gotten a billion bells from retro achievements,
mm,
but I don't know if they use glitches to do so by duplicating bell bags or if they had some other means to bypass some of the retro achievements security. I don't know, like achievement security system. I don't know if that's a thing,
mm,
but that would be very uh, good information to know if someone's legitimately done it. Because as far as I'm aware, I am still the only person to have legitimately done it. However, that is only documented proof.
mhm.
I'm very curious to know if there's anyone that's done it that that could come forward with proof that they've done it, gotten a billion bells legitimately. That is something I'm very interested in knowing, and no one has provided evidence. A few people on my YouTube videos have said that their like family members have done it,
Mm,
or they did it as a kid, and I've reached out to a few of them, and they said, "Oh, we lost the memory card. We save
mhm.
files gone and moving, or maybe I didn't actually. I maybe got 100 million bells. I don't remember. No one's provided proof, and and so the retro achievements thing is interesting to me because if someone has gotten a billion bells legitimately, I think the community would really want to know.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know what
yeah,
the rules are for that. I haven't looked up whatever that set is, but I
yeah.
know obviously to do retro achievements, you use emulators. You can use speed up and a bunch of stuff. So
Right. Yeah,
um,
it's true. Yeah, speed
it
up
would
would
be a little
be a
different regardless. And yeah, maybe they do
yeah.
use glitches. I'm not. It depends on again how the set is programmed, because you can program with
Yeah.
glitches either on or off in mind. But yeah, so I wouldn't know about the retro achievements Animal Crossing side of things. I haven't looked into that.
Speed ups would be probably the biggest
Hmm.
contributor to being able to get a billion bells quickly,
Yes,
or in a
I
like
used a lot of
reasonable.
speed up for the A button challenge stuff, especially as I said,
Okay.
dire docks. You hold A, and then I would hit the button to fast
Yeah.
forward to quickly swim over to the cloning spot. So
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff, that kind of stuff, is 100% allowed.
Gotcha. So as far as the billion bells, there's actually someone who got a billion bells with glitches, uh, documented proof of that before me, before my time. And you may know him. I actually mentioned him earlier. Runner Guy did get a billion bells in Animal Crossing in 2005.
Wow.
And he did so using the island item duplication glitch, where you can bring items to the island and then you can save the island to your Game Boy Advance. Then you reset your game so that way all the items you dropped on the island in the game are not saved there. But then on the island itself, you can basically return to your island after you've reset, and you'll load up the island with all that money on it. So it's a way to take money from your bank, put it on the island, reset the game so that way there isn't money on the island anymore, but it's saved through the Game Boy Advance, and then you can take it all back. So you're duplicating money. You can do that with any items. It is still quite a grind. I'm still very impressed Runner Guy did it. He said he did it over the course of an entire summer of 2005, and he tried using just turnips at first, and he spent the entire summer um, with the stock market, about, I think he said like 3 months or so, and he was able to profit 88 million bells in the 3 months, and he was playing like he didn't have a job over the summer. So he was playing every Sunday. He was playing like, except maybe he missed 1 week, but 88 million bells over the entire summer, that's not even 10% of the way to a billion. So just to case you don't know and this is all really important because this is part of my history with speedrunning Animal Crossing as well. This is sort of like a challenge that it felt sort of unattainable, but still possible to do, that no one had provided proof of ever doing. So it was, in addition to all the challenges I like with video games, this is sort of where Animal Crossing went to the next level for me for challenges and ultimately speedrunning.
Got it. And then is the significance with a billion bells specifically, is that like the highest number the game kind of recognizes?
Oh yeah, the significance for 1 billion bells is that is the highest number you can deposit in your bank account, but there is a reward for it.
Okay.
And it's a specific item. The only way to get this item is by depositing 1 billion bells, or rather 999,999,999. But once you accomplish that, you get a letter in the mail in Animal Crossing, not in real life, in the game, that says you did it. You know, you deposited 1 billion bells. Here is the post model. And that is the only way to get the post model legitimately.
Mm.
And so it is an item that is required to 100% the game because it does appear in your catalog, which tracks how many items you've obtained, like unique items. And there is a purple star awarded per category in the catalog once you've obtained every item that you could possibly get that appears in the catalog. And the post model is included. There are 601 furniture items, and most people could get to 600 pretty easily. It would still be challenging, but it's more doable. But that last item, the post model, is the one that you need to really complete the game 100%.
A little harder than the rest.
A little harder. There is one that requires 100 million bells in the bank account, which I did legitimately accomplish as a kid, and I'm sure a few people did. Actually, I know a few people did. I believe there's someone that provided evidence of like 250 million bells, and then they just stopped because they said it was just too much for them. So that is the highest I've seen legitimately, which with proof. That is, yeah. But anyways, the other way to get the post model is through an in-game Nook code, which there are legitimate Nook codes that are provided by Nintendo through like magazines like Nintendo Power magazines and Tips and Tricks, as well as online codes that you could get on the old Animal Crossing Guardian website back in 2002 and 2003. And there are several codes that are actually required to complete the catalog. There's no other way to get the items. This includes Mario themed items such as the Starman, Flagpole, Koopa Shell, Fire Flower, that sort of Mario theme, as well as the Nintendo Bench from Tips and Tricks. And then there's also 5 NES games that were only possible to get legitimately through the Crossing Guardian website, and I think the Nintendo of Europe website in 2004. And some of them were very limited time edition codes. Once the online website, like the Crossing Guardian website, is updated, it'll provide a link to a new code. And there were 3 NES games that had a 2-week window to obtain in fall and winter of 2002. So there were several items that were already extremely hard to get, but they were sort of timed based events. Even 24 years ago, Nintendo was doing timed based events, and so if you were playing during that time, great, you can get them. If not, the only other way to get them is by using Nook codes. You can get all the Nintendo Power magazines. Those ones are, they're still good. These time-based events, so to speak, they weren't like your game. You could still type in the codes 20 years later, 100 years later, whatever, because it's Animal Crossing GameCube has no online system. So the Nook code system is all built into the game. One could argue any code that you could type into the Nook code is valid, and that's fine. That's a fine argument. But since there are Nintendo official codes that Nintendo released for the sole purpose of you using them, the community has decided that those are the only legitimate codes that you can use. Everything else, obviously, you can do whatever you want. when you play Animal Crossing. It really doesn't matter how you play. But if you're trying to accomplish something that the community agrees is an accomplishment, then Nintendo official Nook codes are the only codes you can use in the game to complete the catalog.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that history is important for speedrunning as well, because the rules for speedrunning requires you to use Nintendo official only like codes, hardware, and yeah, and any sort of anything Nintendo official. And so you have to define what is Nintendo official. And as far as the Nook code system goes, that's how we've defined it. But there are also cases in speedruns where you can use any code, and that is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
But
It's all
for
arbitrary anyway, right? So
it's all arbitrary, it's all community established, and whatever we have decided makes for the best speedruns, the best challenges, we have to set some ground rules. And so knowing what is Nintendo official, what is not, and what the rules are for each speedrunning category, of course. It's all part of the speedrunning community.
Mhm.
And it's good to familiarize yourself with that if you're interested in speedrunning Animal Crossing.
Makes sense. Always read the
Mhm.
rules, but you can also just play however you want. You don't have to submit it.
Yep, that's correct. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules in your own way of playing.
Well, anyway, back to the rules of how you play.
Yes. So let's start getting into where Animal Crossing speedrunning originated. So we have all these precursor rules, Nintendo official stuff that's all been established. My history started with a fascination with 100%ing Animal Crossing back in the day, and that's always carried with me. And as far as speedrunning goes, it started in 2011, but there's one more thing I want to talk about that's very important, because if it wasn't for this one subject, I probably would not have started speedrunning Animal Crossing. And that is the HRA. So one more tangent, and then we'll get into the beginning of Animal Crossing speedrunning. uh, the last tangent is the history of the HRA in Animal Crossing. Do you know what that is,
I am not
GTAs?
familiar.
It is the Happy Room Academy. Some know it as the Happy Home Academy now. It is a scoring system that scores your interior of your Animal Crossing house based off of what items you have in your house, and it provides a score. And once the like a typical score may be like 10,000 or 20,000, but it can go as high as 400,000 without glitches. And this was another sort of challenge with a tangible number that one could try to improve in like a high score kind of table, community high score challenge. So, anyways, the HRA was really important for Animal Crossing as well, because it was finally a tangible number. We got 100%ing Animal Crossing with the catalog tangible number. Now we have the HRA tangible number. What is the highest score you can get? And this was very important. And the reason why it's very important is because while I was researching the HRA back in 2007, I'm going to link this video in chat. There was a glitch that I discovered in Animal Crossing that led to the creation of one of the Animal Crossing speedrunning categories. That glitch is known as the duplication item glitch, or the duplicate items glitch. And let me pull that up on YouTube and link it in chat. If it wasn't for this glitch, Animal Crossing speedrunning would be completely different as we know it. So there it is. What this glitch is an extension of another glitch called walking on tables. Walking on tables was a random glitch someone discovered, Neo Mario something or other, back in 2004. I actually made a whole HRA history video that covers all of this information. I'll link that in chat as well. And this video, I'm not going to go through it. Because there's just so much. But the only thing I'm going to discuss is how it's relevant to speedrunning, which is the duplicate items glitch. So back in 2000 and let's see, what year was this? This was, let me pull it up on YouTube. I released this video 18 years ago, and let's see, where does it say when I uploaded it? I thought this information, it just says 18 years ago. So if we do the math, that was 2006. And I can't remember if it was July of 2006 or November of 2000. Oh, there it is. June of 2007. Okay. I discovered this. Yeah, no, I guess that's right. Thought I discovered this in December of 2006. Maybe I did. I just didn't make a video on it. But I uploaded the video on June 2007, and it's just a way to duplicate items. Sorry. Okay, cool. Just a way to duplicate items in Animal Crossing that is important for speedrunning, because we have to. The category that it's important for is all debts, which is paying off all your debts, and we use this glitch to duplicate some of the valuable items that you can sell to Tom Nook to pay off our debts quickly. So this video, the duplicate items glitch, which I discovered in 2007, was a sort of the precursor to the category all debts. And if it wasn't for this glitch, I don't know if all debts would be a category, and therefore I don't know if Animal Crossing speedrunning would have the community it does today. Yeah, so that glitch was important. I wanted, and then the rest of the HRA stuff why that's relevant to the HRA is because it has some side effects where you can place items on tables, or you can place items on tables normally, but the glitch allows you to place items on top of items that are not normally considered tables. And so it allows you to place extra items in the room, which improves the score of the HRA. So the reason why that glitch was relevant to the HRA was just so you can place more items in your house and therefore increase the score that you would otherwise not be able to achieve without the use of this glitch. And it's also worth noting there is a glitchless category and a glitch category for the HRA. And that is also important for speedrunning to define what is a glitch and what isn't. Yeah, any questions at the moment in GTA?
I think I'm following.
Okay.
I guess
Cool.
part of it is how is the score like calculated?
Sure. Yeah, there's a whole rubric for the Happy Room Academy, and it basically follows furniture sets, themes, and series. And the series would be like there would be like the modern series, which is it's usually a set of functional furniture like tables and dressers, wardrobes. And the modern series is comprised of 10 furniture items as well as a wallpaper and carpet. And there's several different series in the game. Sometimes there's holiday specific series like the Jingle series, which you get from Jingle on just December 24th, or from the snowman from building the snowman in Animal Crossing. Anyways, there's 14 series in Animal Crossing, and they are the main source of scoring points. And it's a whole rubric, like I mentioned. There's bonus points for having a completed series. There's base scores per furniture item, and each furniture item is assigned a base score depending on where you got it from. So there's some rare items that may be worth more HRA points. And then there's also themes, which are like series, but they score it a little differently. They're mostly just arbitrary furniture themes, like the construction theme. If you have all the construction items, you get a ton of points based off of that formula. Then there's sets, which are smaller groups of furniture, like the pair set, which is a pair dresser and a pair wardrobe. And those score 3,000 points per completed item in the set. And those are the three main ways to score, but every item has base scores. There's a few other random parts of the scoring system, but that you pretty much just want to get the most, like one theme in the main room and as many sets as you can. And you also need the wallpaper and carpet to complete the series to score the maximum bonus points for the HRA. So that's how the scoring system for the HRA works.
And it's all calculated. You know exactly
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah, you can calculate it before you even construct your house if you know what everything is worth.
Gotcha. And then I assume would be kind of the follow-up anyway, but how does that lead into proper speedrunning stuff?
So the HRA itself doesn't lead to speedrunning, but the glitch, the duplicate items glitch is
Okay.
very important in speedrunning. So that was the tie between the HRA and speedrunning, was that glitch.
The glitch, okay. And so the glitch like just helped with getting a much higher score than you otherwise would have for that.
Exactly.
And then it also became useful for the speedrunning side of things.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, the current glitchless HRA record, I can pull up the exact number give me 1 minute, but it's around 405,000 for no glitches for the HRA. So just to give you a sort of a baseline. Oh, here you go. I got it pulled
And
up.
so that's none of the duplicate items.
That's correct. Without duplicate items, which is considered a glitch.
Mm-hmm.
Without glitches, I set the new glitchless world record for the HRA in 2002, with a score of 407,812. And then with glitches, which involves the duplicate items glitches, as well as several other glitches I discovered that stemmed from that glitch, which allowed invisible items, partial out of bounds items. Anyways, every glitch that the community has discovered over the years, that is about 150% more. Or no, yeah, 50% more, however you do the math. But
yeah,
without glitches, 407,812. With glitches, 663,923. So significant
a score you could never
improvement.
achieve normally.
Correct. Impossible to achieve that score without glitches. But that's why we have a glitchless and a glitch category for that. So that way there's, for those that don't like using glitches, we have a subcategory, or I guess just a main category for that purpose.
So,
and that's also relevant to speedrunning as well, because some people don't like to use glitches. So we have we define what a glitch is for some of the categories in Animal Crossing.
Okay. And the last question I have about it then is there a perfect setup?
Yes, that is the perfect setup, as in like what achieves the highest score, and has that highest score been achieved? Yes, or
I guess both.
Is that what you mean by perfect?
Yeah, just because if you have it all calculated, right? So is there a known best possible score?
There is. It is the one that I got in May 2019 of 662,923.
Okay.
And as far as we're aware, and I accomplished that with the glitches, but I accomplished that just a standard Animal Crossing save. That I achieved the highest known possible theoretical score.
Okay.
And we would love to find a higher score. The community, I would love to see one. Others would too. And we have not been able to find a theoretical higher score than that without the discovery of new glitches, which we have not found any, and I've definitely tried.
Got it. Okay. And then what about glitchless then?
Glitchless was actually somewhat recent as far as like timeline goes. I found improvements to the glitchless record just because it's because when I was making the video on the HRA world record video, when I was working on that video, I had discovered a way to improve the glitchless record, which I also had from 2009, I think, or 2007. No one improved the glitchless record for like 15 years. But when I revisited it, I found a way to improve my own record. And when I did improve it, I did achieve the score 407,812. Kyler, my good friend Kyler, who is a big part of the Animal Crossing community in the last 10 years, he's worked on decompiling Animal Crossing. We have the precursor to PC port for Animal Crossing now. It's almost publicly available and ready to go. as well as several mods in recent times and several programs for working on Animal Crossing from the computer, from the PC for the last years. Anyways, Kyler did take a look at generating an algorithm to find if my score was the highest, and 407812 for glitchless, because it was a pretty robust but possible algorithm to generate based off of the scoring system.
Mm-hmm.
And from what he found, this should be the highest glitchless score achievable. There should not be any more improvements. But again, if someone can prove us wrong, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Just because
Yeah.
something's perfect for now doesn't mean it can't be proven imperfect later.
That's right. We are pretty confident the glitchless one is proven to be perfect and is impossible to improve just because he wrote an algorithm
Yeah.
to find the score without any prior input. But the glitched one is more complicated, and we are hopeful there are improvements for the glitched one. We're like 99% sure the glitchless one is max, but the glitched one, there is possibility. There's definitely
it's impossible to know if you've found all the glitches. you just know you have a perfect score for the known glitches.
You got it.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, obviously like high score related stuff are tangentially kind of related. Both things kind of started from the Twin Galaxies era, so. And obviously
That's
the glitch
true,
led to the speedrunning side of things as well. So, it's interesting to learn about that history too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it all ties together. It's all very important for the history. It may not be speedrunning directly, but it is, like you said, tangentially related.
Yeah.
So, as far as when Animal Crossing speedrunning began, it started from me from 2011. It actually went back one more year than that, 2010, technically, but the official speedrunning started in 2011. So the reason why it started 1 year prior was because I in like 2009 and 2010, bingos came out. You know what bingos
Oh
are?
yes, I'm familiar. I haven't done one
I
myself yet,
figured.
but I know they were the
Okay,
hot stuff back in the day, especially on SRL. So
that's correct. Yep. And when did Speedruns Live come out? I think that was like
I
2011,
yeah, that is
12.
well before my time. I started in 2017, so
Okay.
I would not know
I
the
actually
answer
don't know when
personally.
Speedruns Live came out. It was at least 2013, but I think it came out in 2011 technically. Because before Speedruns Live, we did a lot of speedruns on the Internet Relay client called MIRC. And MIRC was basically just a chat room that you had to download. And there were forums, there were I don't know, there were links to go to chat rooms for specific subjects. And one of those was Ocarina of, well, actually no, I started with Super Mario 64 bingos. There was there was even a, man, what was that website? There was even a website that had a leaderboard for Super Mario 64 bingo scores. There was a score. It might have been, was it Speedruns Live? No, it was, man, I don't remember, but there were names like, I remember the top name. I don't know why I remember this, but the guy's name was Sicko, Sicko. And I was trying to beat his score in Mario 64 for bingos. And basically how that worked is you started a bingo. Maybe it was Speedruns Live. No, there was something before it. But you started a bingo, and then it was like on a shared server, and then you clicked a button that indicated you finished, and then when you finished, it recorded your time, and then when everyone finished, everyone's times were recorded, and it was sort of like an elo system where, depending on what your score was, what the other person's score was, you would gain points or lose points depending on your placement in the bingo. So we did a lot of bingos from through this system. And in fact, it goes back one extra year when we did bingo tasks.
Hmm.
Man, that's taken me way back. Before bingos, there were tasks. It's kind of like the Super Mario 64 ABC challenge tasks, where it was like in the next 2 weeks, provide a video of you completing this challenge in a certain number of A presses, or complete this star given these restraints or these requirements in a certain amount of time. That was pre bingo, and those were known as tasks. There was a whole group of like a whole like game facts, this whatever this other website was that that handled these tasks, and then from there bingos were created from these tasks. So people thought of the idea to do bingos instead of just doing like a weekly task. It's like, why don't we just do bingos whenever we want? We get a group of people together and we do bingos. So bingos are like a bingo card. You have goals on them, and the goal is to the goal is to complete a bingo, a 5x5 or a 1x5, bingo, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. And then once you do that, you complete it. Anyways, there was a leaderboard for Super Mario 64. There was one that was developed shortly after for Ocarina of Time. And then I had so much fun with those. I spent, oh, I do remember the exact year. It was 2011. 2010, 2009 through 2011. I did these. Yeah. Yeah, because I was in, yeah, okay, I remember. It was 2009 and 2011. And then Ocarina of Time bingos is where I really spent a lot of my time. I gave up trying to get top spot on Super Mario 64, but I was determined to get a top spot in Ocarina of Time. I think, and I did. I achieved my goal of doing that in 2011. Very proud of myself. And then from there, I invented Animal Crossing bingos. Animal Crossing bingos, which I have a video on. I actually am really proud of this video. It's pretty high quality for its time. Animal Crossing bingos, which we play. I got a few people to play them in 2011 through the Internet Relay Client, the MIRC, and we got several people that really enjoyed them. We would do think we'd have tasks such as like spin your umbrella, spin 7 different umbrellas, complete chores, talk to so many villagers. I've got a whole list of them, and these tasks were assigned values based off of how difficult they may be to achieve, and they were assigned like weights, values, weights, same thing. They were also assigned categories. So like if this was a nature type of task or goal, then you wouldn't want to have too many of the same type of categories in one bingo. So it generated a bingo program that I actually got from some very early speedrunners, and we did bingos. There was a template made for Java that I adapted for Animal Crossing, and I was able to generate bingo cards with these weighted values and weighted goals or categorized goals. And then, yeah, some other ones would be like collect 5 different fossils, collect 10 different pieces of furniture, yeah, catch so many fish, catch so many bugs, get so much money. And so as I developed this bingo program and got more people to play, this is sort of the beginning of Animal Crossing speedrunning, because the goal is to complete it as fast as you can. The faster you complete it, the higher placement you'll get if you're in a race with several people. So we called them races. And they were speed runs in a sense, but it was just a race, a real-time attack, as they called it as well. And my elo in Animal Crossing speedrunning or in bingos was pretty high because I was good at it. But unfortunately, not a lot of people did these. Like I got probably about a dozen people to do them, but there's so much information in Animal Crossing. Extremely information heavy game for its time. There's so much information that even we're learning stuff today that we didn't know. Even the decompiled Animal Crossing has discovered new information and new things that we hadn't previously known. Like as detailed as something as like, how do you get this certain dialogue to activate? So that's pretty niche, but even something more broad, like what are the odds of catching this fish during this time? we've been able to improve our knowledge of that subject or that aspect of Animal Crossing, or even like how do we obtain this item in different ways to obtain it. Like a lot of this information has probably been randomly discovered by people over the years. I'll give you a really good example. This example, this is kind of a little tangent, but it's all important for speedrunning because we're learning new stuff constantly through speedrunning in the sense of like strats to obtain certain items or catch certain bugs or fish. But this is kind of a small little tangent to give you an idea of how we're still discovering stuff. There are certain items in the game that you can only obtain them in certain ways. Like I said, the post model was from getting a billion bells, but there's other items that you should only be able to obtain in certain ways. And there, one good example would be Gulliver, who is a seagull that washes up on the beach from time to time, once a week, Monday through Friday. And he'll, if you talk to him enough and save his life, he will get up, give you an item, and it's a Gulliver item. It's the only way to get these items in the game. There's 20 of them, and they're all sort of like what these items are would be like models for different like real life structures. So we got the Eiffel Tower, you've got Statue of Liberty. There's also random things like a stone coin. Anyways, that's what these items are. And we recently discovered within the last 5 years a way to get some of these items legitimately through other means. And this is really interesting because it led down a challenge that I spent about 200 hours completing that was sort of in conjunction with all my speedrunning history. It was called the No Nooks Challenge, and it was get as many items in the game as possible without ever talking to Nook, Tom Nook, who is the who is the main character that gives you your first chores for the game. And if you don't complete your chores, you're locked out of pretty much the majority of the game. So the challenge is to complete as much of the game without completing the intros. And why this is relevant to that challenge is because there's these Gulliver items. We found a way to get them in the last 5 years that we did not know previously. I never read any forum posts about it. No one's ever mentioned them. I am sure people have randomly done this throughout the years without realizing what they had found. But basically, every villager in the game has a house that's preset. When a villager moves in, their furniture in their house is already determined. And some of the furniture can include rare items such as Gulliver items. A good example would be Admiral, who is a bird who has an item called the plate armor in his house. The only way to get plate armor is from Gulliver. It's just like an armored suit. And why this is important is because we found a way to get furniture from villagers' houses. Now, it doesn't take the furniture away from the villagers' houses, but the villager can give you a piece of furniture from their house, and they can give it to you an infinite number of times. But it's an extremely arbitrary way to achieve this. It is part of the game's code, and it is an intended way of obtaining some of these items, but it is never a required way to get a certain item. So what I mean by that is you can get every item in the game without ever knowing this information. And the way to accomplish it is you have to enter the villager's house, and they have to give you a piece of furniture. There's a 1 in 10 chance the furniture they give you is furniture from the interior of their house. So let's say Admiral, I think he has like 13 or 14 pieces of furniture in his house. One of them is a plate armor. If you get lucky enough, there will be basically a 1 in 140 chance he'll give you plate armor if you had entered his house or any villager's house during that play session. If you don't enter a villager's house during that play session, you'll never get items from their house through this means. This information is obviously people have randomly gotten furniture from villagers' houses over the years, but we never figured out why or what was going on, or that it was even possible to get villager furniture from their house. And we found the exact system of how it works only in the last 5 years. And Animal Crossing's been around for 24, almost 25 years now. So we're still discovering new stuff today. So this game, very information heavy, so much to discover, so much to remember when you're speedrunning or doing challenges. And there's so many different like aspects of completing Animal Crossing or playing it in a unique way, or even just to obtain random items throughout the game. So Animal Crossing, that's honestly one of the reasons I love Animal Crossing, is for how information heavy it is. Just for its time, it was one of the most information heavy games. Like there were games that, like Final Fantasy series that had tons of information. Animal Crossing was right there with them as far as how much was in the game and how much you could do. And since everything is time based, like real world time based, then you may not discover something because it only happens one day out of the year, or even 2 hours out of a given year. So you have to play an entire year to experience everything that Animal Crossing has to offer, and you're probably still going to miss stuff. So it's just that's why I love Animal Crossing, and that's why it's my favorite game, and why I wanted to get speedrunning into Animal Crossing as early as 2011.
So the gift that keeps on giving, huh?
That's right. So it started with bingos, and I got a few people, and then after bingos sort of phased out of popularity. At least like the golden era of bingos kind of ended. People still do bingos all the time. I still do bingos, but like the golden era kind of phased out. Kind of went back to speedrunning when Speedruns Live came into effect in 2011 or 12 or 13, somewhere around that time is when it got popular. And then people really just went back to speedrunning. And then GDQs were a major factor for that as well, a major contributor towards the popularity of speedrunning. So with bingos being the precursor, next up came just straight up good old speedruns. And most popular games have speedrun categories, as we all know and love. GDQs have definitely promoted that and broadened, basically expanded the community to a whole nother level. And the first official Animal Crossing speedrun on Speedruns Live was by Bosby and Fash, I believe, in 2013. So bingos, you could say, were the precursor and necessary, but the first official bingo was 2013. Now, we had been running these categories on the MIRC as part of like challenges. So you don't have to just do bingos for the MIRC. You can assign any arbitrary goal you want. So we were doing complete chores as a goal in the speedrun races. So we were doing these categories already, but we weren't documenting their times. So the first category for Animal Crossing speedrunning was chores and credits. Like I mentioned earlier with Nook, once you complete chores, you have access to the rest of the game pretty much, and you see the credits through a dog that plays music on Saturday nights called KK Slider, and he shows you the credits. So the goal is to complete chores and watch the credits by talking to KK Slider. KK Slider is that guy right there.
I was worried this would happen.
Run races back in 2011, and then it became a Speedruns Live in 2013. And I participated in speedruns in 2013 on Speedruns Live as well. And then, I think it became
internet issues.
speedrun.com at some point.
Sorry to interrupt.
I don't remember when it changed, but maybe it started at speedrun.com. But anyways, speedrun.com is what it is now.
Oh. Hello? Can you
Are you good? Yeah, I can hear
you. Remember what I was saying? Like, my internet's been having weird issues and it might go out.
Oh yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, it
All right, let me know.
It did that.
Okay. So was I cut out at all?
Yeah, it was for a little bit. I think even my stream got disconnected. I local record, so it's not the end of the world.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, I don't know why it's been doing this recently. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine right now. Hopefully.
Okay.
Looks like we're back. But
okay, is it all right if I get some more water? I'm out of water right now.
Yeah, you can do that, and I'll go ahead and I make sure I have everything working.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, OBS has a good feature where you can pause a local recording, so I was able to just crop all that out.
Oh, yeah, you're using good old regular OBS. Nice.
Oh yeah,
that's
of course.
Yeah, that is the way to go. Streamlabs does not let you do
Oh
that.
yeah, I tried Streamlabs once. I'm out of there. Nah, regular OBS is the way to go for sure. Especially now they have a
Yeah, I
lot more
agree.
customization. Anyway, the internet should be fine.
Okay, yeah, right on, Z.
Hopefully it
That's
might go
awesome.
out again. If it does, I'll make a warning. But I don't know why it does that.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyway, yeah, the last thing I heard in the regular discussion was bringing up you were about to show the KK Slider plush, and I was going to mention he's on your shirt, and then everything went to hell. But as it goes, um,
Yeah, Xenornicus. Yeah, I remember DK64. That's actually interesting because I love DK64,
yeah.
and I'm aware of Connor and in the community, but that's about as the extent I know of it. So I know that's one of the glitchiest games ever, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
I was taught how to do glitches within like 2 minutes. I was like sequence
Yep.
breaking the opening. I was like, yep, this is a game.
Yeah. Dang, Xenornicus, if you remember my OOT bingos, let me know if you remember any specifics about that. Because I'm trying to remember the speedrun racing website that we used. If you remember that, let me know. Because maybe it was Speedruns Live. I think it was just Speedruns Live, actually.
Yeah, I know SRL did a lot of bingos, but obviously their
Yeah,
set
okay.
was more set up for just regular races, obviously with their leaderboards and everything. But
Yeah, I
I'm
think it
pretty
was
sure there was
Speedruns
like
Live.
you
Yeah.
can like click a button and have like a board randomly generated or something. I forget. Again, this was before my time, but I thought that was a thing.
That's right. Yeah, you could do that.
Mhm.
It would depend on if someone made a program that lets you. Yeah, it was Speedruns Live. I
Yeah,
went to the website.
that's
That's it.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, you just click a button, and then if someone made a program for that game, then it would generate a bingo card for you.
Hmm. Like
Yeah, and I
someone
still
has to
use
go in and
Speedruns Live.
yeah, someone has to go in and make a bunch of tasks or whatever, and then it'll randomly pull from that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I used Speedruns Live, but I have used it recently, and yeah, I think that's just what it was. So Speedruns Live, that's just what I was trying to remember. And wow,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm looking at it now. Okay, the leaderboard's still there. Let's
Yeah,
go. I wonder if I'm still on it somewhere.
I think all the leaderboards are saved completely, like as far back as when the site started. I know all of my
My
stuff is
mine
saved, even though I started in 2018 or 17.
really.
Yeah, so um,
Oh wait, there's legacy. There's different seasons. It looks like season
oh,
1,
okay.
legacy. I think they deleted my information, but there's Exodus. Yeah, I mean, but they probably played somewhat, in the last 10 years.
Hmm.
I'm not on it anymore unless I'm unranked. No, I'm not. They expunged my name at some point. I don't know when. Dang, I should log in and see if I can get all that info.
Yeah, I don't know why it would
I
be removed. I'm pretty sure everything is archived somewhere somehow.
Yeah, you would think. Well, let's see. Let's go to Animal Crossing. Let's see if because I did a lot of that. Oh no, I'm still there.
Okay,
MP16.
there you
There I
are.
am. Yeah. Oh, I need to get back into it because I'm only number 4 now.
But still number 4 after all this time. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. There's a person who has tried to delete their existence from the internet, but their name's still there. There's good old Jonas, good old Glad Jonas,
Oh wow.
and yep, several people. They're very interesting.
I only know that recognize that name from the like top 10 cringe
Yeah.
fails or whatever
Yep.
that I've
No,
been
they
featured in.
definitely. Yeah. Glad Jonas goes back further than that with Animal Crossing speedruns.
Interesting. That's all I know him from because my name I saw a thumbnail pop up in my recommended, it was me, and I was like, what the hell? And it was one of his like fail compilations. So I was like, all right, cool, man.
That's funny. Yeah, Glad Jonas is a character.
Yeah.
Uh, but looks like everything from like before 2013 or 2012 was deleted because
Mm.
I'm not on the Super Mario 64 list.
Yeah, maybe
at
their
all.
archival systems weren't in place yet or something. But I mean, the fact it goes
Yeah,
back as far as it does is pretty wild.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Wow.
So,
Anyways,
yeah.
speedruns live, mystery solved.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So we last left off with the KK slider, chores and credits. Yeah, we'll
Mhm.
just go from there. So I think now would be a good time to talk about the first AGDQ run of Animal Crossing
Ooh.
speedruns that really bumped up the popularity of Animal Crossing speedruns. So in 2000 and wait, let me get this right. I think it's 2004 or 20, yeah, 2014. Four Stride. It was either 14 or 15. I can't remember. It was 15. My bad.
Okay.
2015, Four Stride, a member of the Animal Crossing speedrunning community, got accepted into an AGDQ, which was awesome.
Yeah. And that was
And the
back when they
category,
were pulling 1 million in donations already, so it was like pretty pretty high like viewer base times
yes, it
already.
was an established. It was established very well by that point.
Mhm.
I think I don't remember the first AGDQ run. I think it was maybe 2011, 2000, or maybe even earlier, 2009. I don't
Like
know
the
the
first
history of
GDQ
AGD.
event, that was 2010. The classic game stem
2010.
quake.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
And
got
I
in the
think they
middle.
got like
That
ten
was the
thousand
first.
dollars in a weekend. Still pretty good.
Oh, really?
But yeah,
I
I know
mean, yeah.
2014 was the first to hit 1 million, so they were already just killing it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 2014. I watched. I was there, or I wasn't there, but I mean, I was there in
You were
chat.
there in chat, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I watched 2015, or yeah, I watched some of 2015, including Animal Crossing.
Mhm.
But 2015, Four Stride, a member of the Animal Crossing speedrunning community, which, by the way, at this point, we only had four categories. There were no, that's a lie. There were several categories that were random that we got rid of.
Ah.
But the main one, after chores and credits, the next main one was all debts,
Hmm.
which all debts is paying off all your debts. And I think I mentioned earlier the all debts run only existed because of the duplicate items glitch that I discovered in 2006. Made a video on it in 2007.
Mhm.
So the all debts run, in order to complete that run, you have to pay off all your debts. And what that means is every time you pay a debt, and you have six in total, you will get an upgrade to your house. Or the final one will be a statue commemorating paying off all your debts. So you got, let's see, hold on. How is that right? Six debts. First debt, main floor, second, third, basement. Wait, maybe there's five. 14,400, 159, 149,000 or 148,000, 49,800, 350,700. Sorry, there's five debts. Five debts. Anyways, each one of them is upgrading the house, and then you get a statue at the end. So in order to pay off all your debts, you have to acquire like 1.4 million bells. And to put that into perspective, let's say you sell, you caught yourself a sea bass in the ocean because you can catch fish in Animal Crossing. It's one of the popular aspects of the game. Sea bass sells for 120 bells, so you're gonna need a lot of sea bass.
Just a
You
little
need
bit.
10, just a little bit over 10,000 sea bass to pay off your entire debts. But there's some fish that are worth like 10,000 bells. The highest is worth 15,000 bells. That would be the stringfish and coelacanth in Arapaima. Yeah. Right? No. Dang it. I can't remember if Arapaima is 15K or 10K. But anyways, regardless, it's 10K in New Horizons. That's what I remember. But anyways, I think it's 10K. Yeah, it's definitely 10K in the original. But you still need like 100 of those. Those are rare fish, or like 140. So it takes a while to pay off your debt. But if without glitches, actually, I'll come back to that later. Without glitches and without the strategy that I implemented recently, it would take you probably like 5 or 6 hours to pay off all your debts by probably catching fish in the ocean during a certain time. That'd be the best strat. With glitches, it reduces the category time down to under 40 minutes.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
big
think
improvement.
catching fish for 6 hours would be a very good GDQ submission.
Correct. It really wouldn't. This glitch was needed for this GDQ submission to get Animal Crossing speedrunning elevated to the level it got to, which it's not as popular as, games like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time and whatnot, but it's still pretty popular for as far as like the average popularity of speedrunning games goes.
No, I
And
am
if it
glad
wasn't
that
for this glitch,
GDQ will
yeah,
accept almost any game regardless of popularity, and a lot of the time it'll help put it more into the spotlight. So I'm always happy to hear a
absolutely,
game get
yeah,
that chance that has a maybe smaller
absolutely.
community.
Yeah, GDQ really did bring Animal Crossing speedrunning into the spotlight. Like me alone, I was able to get a small little gathering of people to play the game, and we had notable names such as Fash, Bosby, Forstride. We even had some old school names of Amba Harmony, Totaled. Cold Eggman came into the scene very shortly after, but those are the notable names for some of the eras of the game. And then there was also I alluded to it earlier. There was a person whose name they don't want to they've removed themselves from the internet.
Okay,
So
so
I will respect their privacy and not mention who that is. But they're very popular too. They just some people just do that. It's all
yeah,
good.
I understand.
I'll respect their wishes. Anyways, we also had some people such as Beef Wellington. We had let's see, where's some other old school ones. We had Glad Jonas, of course, who just went by Jonas, and some other notable ones. We had Wavelength, and yeah, just shout outs to some of these people. We had Rolf, Tutular Fiber. Uh, let's see some other ones. Yeah, those are some of the really old school people. Oh, and Nick. How could I forget about Nick? He just goes by Nick. Yep. So some of the old school players, and in recent times we've had some new faces, and I'll mention them later. But All Debts was next in 2015. That really brought Animal Crossing to the spotlight. And as far as so yeah, shout outs to Force Ride for that, and thanks to the strats for duplicating. I'll explain the strat. So basically, the strat is to get a bunch of money quickly. You can duplicate a certain item that's worth 14,000 bells. There are items that are worth a little more than that in the game, but this item has to be placed on a table. And so the most valuable item that can be placed on a table is worth 14,000 bells. And we acquire this item using a Nook code. You don't have to, but we allow non-official Nook codes in most speedrun categories. Some categories do not let you use unofficial Nook codes for certain items, for obvious reasons, because one of the goals is like obtain the golden net. Well, you can't just type in a Nook code for a golden net, so that's so you
Really?
you you
Oh.
get it through. Yeah, what that would be it. That would be such a boring speedrun. And some categories require several key items that we don't allow you to get through in-game Nook codes.
So it's just a case by case basis on what makes sense for the category.
Exactly. Anyways, we type in a Nook code for the autumn medal or the spring medal. You could get it in the game. It'd cost you about 30 more seconds. Then you also type in a code for a 2x1 table to accomplish the glitch, as well as an additional radio or a wardrobe, which is how the duplication item glitch works. So basically, there was a glitch I alluded to earlier that it's called walking on tables, and if you drop a 2x1 item, so each house is comprised of spaces. The first floor before you upgrade is a 4x4. So a 2x1 item would occupy 2 out of the 16 available spaces. And then it goes up to 2x2 items. So that's the largest item. And then most items are 1x1. So anyways, if you have a 2x1 item and you drop it while running on one specific frame and pixel, you will be launched into the air. And how you're launched into the air is dependent on what's to the right of the table. So, first of all, the reason why this works is because the game is trying to place you on top of the table. Why is it trying to do that? Because as you are placing the table, it detects your character model is interacting with the placement of this new item. And it's seeing that, oh, you should be on top of this table right now because your hitbox is within the space of the table. And so to accomplish that, it launches you to the right of the table. It tries to push you away from the table so that way it doesn't put you directly onto the table. It doesn't always, the game doesn't always succeed with that, but whatever is to the right, that's sort of what happens with the glitch. Whatever's to the right of the table is where is the height that you go to. So let's say there's nothing to the right of the table. Then you will still be launched in the air, but you will fall to the ground and nothing will happen. Or actually, if there's something to the right of the table, you actually just can't straight up can't place the table because the table will be placed in a different manner. So I lied on that. I'm sorry, I'm wrong about that. If there's nothing to the right of the table, it's not going to work because the table will be placed in a different manner, just the way the geometry works. So there has to be something to the right of the table for this glitch to work. Let's say whatever's to the right of the table is another table. Start with that. What the game will do is it will launch you to the height of that other table. So whatever the table height of the item to the right of the 2x1 table you're dropping is the height that your character will go to. That kind of makes sense?
Sure.
So once you're launched to that height, you will be placed on top of that item. All right? When you're on top of the item, you're going to be high up in the air for most items. Let's say the item that's to the right of the table is not a table item. Let's just say it's something random like just a dresser. Then you'll be launched to the height of that dresser, but since the dresser does not have a table height property, the game has a default height property for items that aren't considered tables, and it's something like about like 6 or 7 villager heights in height. So you're going to be launched into the air and then placed to the height of basically 6 or 7 villagers higher than your current model, and it's going to look like you're floating on nothing, but it's actually the height of that item that is not a table, but that's the default ceiling height. All right?
Okay.
Following?
Yep.
All right. The reason why this is important is because from there, you can walk off of that high ceiling onto the table you just placed, the 2x1 table, and now you are walking on that table. While walking on the table, you have one unique property where you can pick up the table from underneath your feet. So the reason why that's important is because normally, if you were to place an item that can be placed on a table onto this table, in this case, the spring metal that's worth 14,000 bells, and you try picking up that table from the floor, you're unable to pick up the table. The only thing you have to pick up everything that you place on the table first, and then you can pick up the table. And that basically prevents any items that are on the table from just floating in the air when you pick up the table from the ground. But since you can't do that, there's no way to get floating items. But if you're on the table and there's another item on the table, you can still pick up the table from underneath your feet, and the items that was on the table remains floating at that height that it was at before the table was picked up. So we now have an item in an invalid state where it's basically just floating in the air. If you were to reload the room, that item would correct its height to the ground. Basically, it snaps to the elevation of what it's supposed to be on. So if there's no table, it'll snap to the next closest thing, which would be the ground, and everything's back to normal. Some random glitch was done. Nothing changed as far as irregular placement of items. But since this item is supposed to be considered on a table, it has a property of being on a table at this moment in time. But if it's floating, that means there's no table under it. And you now have the ability to place something on top of this floating item. And this new item will act as a new table. So remember how I mentioned, let's say you have an item that doesn't count as a table, such as a wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
You have the option through this invalid state of this floating item to place this wardrobe on top of the spring metal. And so now it looks like the spring metal is acting as a table, but in reality, the wardrobe is acting as a table because the spring metal is still in a state in which it believes it is an item on a table. So the wardrobe takes on the property of a table, even though it's not supposed to. And what will happen when you reload the room is the spring metal will snap to the height of the wardrobe, which, if you recall correctly, the maximum ceiling height of the wardrobe is like 6 or 7 player models up. So you're gonna have this spring metal that's floating on top of a wardrobe, really high up, and it looks really awkward and weird. But that is the beginning of the glitch. That is the walking on tables glitch plus creating a newly made table is the secondary effect for the glitch. So you have this newly made table. This all was discovered in 2004, by the way. But the duplicating part was discovered by me in 2006, a few years later. There are certain items that can duplicate the item that's now placed on top of the wardrobe in this case. Not every item can do this. So let's say you want to return the room to normal. First thing you would do is you'd pick up the spring metal by pressing the B button to pick it up from on top of this wardrobe, which it normally should not be on top of. And if you pick it up, then you have the spring metal back. And if you also pick up the wardrobe, you'll pick up the wardrobe, but you'll notice you're going to have a copy of the spring metal in your inventory. So you suddenly duplicated the spring metal somehow. And why does that happen? Because the wardrobe has a property where you can store 3 items in it normally under normal conditions. You press A to interact with it, and it says there's such and such items in the wardrobe. Do you want to place one? Do you want to take one out? Normal property of the game. Well, the way the wardrobe works is it actually stores items inside of it, and it puts it into an invalid state. Basically, it makes the item invisible, but the item is there in the wardrobe. So when you pick up the wardrobe, it will pick up the wardrobe and any items that you place inside of it, because the way the game functions to store these items is it physically puts the item into the wardrobe and puts it into an invalid state where it doesn't count towards the total item limit, and it also doesn't count towards being visible. So, but now we have a case where we have a spring metal on the wardrobe itself, but it's visible and it's not in an invalid state as far as the game is concerned. So you can pick up the spring metal, but according to the game, the wardrobe still contains another spring metal because of the way the wardrobe handles items being placed inside of it. So it put an invisible spring metal in an invalid state inside the wardrobe because it detected something was on it as like a functioning as a table. So the wardrobe functions as a table in that regard. But there's now 2 instances of the spring metal, so you've just duplicated an item. And that's kind of impractical to repeat this glitch 100 times to duplicate the spring metal. So there's another way to duplicate it. Instead of picking up the wardrobe as well, you pick up the spring metal, then you reload the room, and the game puts the spring metal that you picked up back on top of the wardrobe because it remembered the state that the spring metal was in. And so it effectively copies the spring metal again back on top of the wardrobe, and you've duplicated that item. And you can pick it up again, reload the room, pick it up again, and you can repeat this process however long you want, infinitely. And you can sell every single one of these spring metals for 14,000 bells each. So you only need to do that like 100 times, and then you can pay off your debts. And that is the overall strat for the all debts. You can optimize the speedrun as far as like how many wardrobes do you set up with spring metals on top of them to optimize the amount of time it takes to pick them up and reload the room. And then as your room expands when you pay off your debts, all these items get shifted around the room when your room expands. So you factor that into play. You factor in the distance it takes to run to Tom Nook's and to the post office, which is where you need to pay off your debts. And there's just so much to Animal Crossing speedruns, even for simple categories such as all debts or chores and credits. And I mean, I could talk about the nuances of Animal Crossing speedrunning for I could do it for 24 hours straight if I had the stamina. There's just so much GTAs. There's just so
Oh, I
much.
know.
Yeah. So I'm not I will spare you all some of like just droning on for hours and hours about every tiny detail, but I will highlight some broad important aspects of Animal Crossing speedrunning to get you an idea of sort of what to expect if you were to be an Animal Crossing speedrunner, or things to look out to if you're watching a run of why did they do something this way or that way. Just something that is relevant to every single Animal Crossing speedrunning category. And the biggest factor is actually town generation.
Mhm.
So whenever you create a brand new Animal Crossing town, let's say you got Animal Crossing for Christmas in 2002 and you load up a town for the very first time, you got your memory card all set up, you're greeted with KK Slider, he says welcome. You're greeted with Rover on the train who says you're going to what town? You name your town, you name your player, and then you get off the train and there's your town. You're greeted by Nook, or you're greeted by Porter and then Nook. But then after the intro or after you get your house and whatnot, you can go check your map. And that map is going to be a randomly generated map, and that's going to be your town. That's your town. But it has certain algorithms that you follow, or that if the game follows to generate your town. And again, I'll spare you the details of that. But the biggest thing to pay attention to with speedrunning Animal Crossing for every category, beside even chores and credits, every category is where Nooks and the post office are placed. An Animal Crossing town is comprised of a 5x6 grid, excluding the island and excluding the boundary acres, which are inaccessible. A 5x6 grid of just a livable space. It's 5 columns and 6 rows. We refer to the rows with letters and the columns as numbers. That's how the game does it. So Nooks and the post office, as well as the dump and the train station, are all in the first row, which is the A row, or the A acres as we call them. And in the A acres, there's A1 through A5, and Nooks and the post office can never be like right next to each other. They're always going to be separated by the train station. But the closer Nooks is to the post office, the better. And that's going to save a lot of time. And then where your player house is, which is acre B3, train station acre is A3 every time. Your houses are B3 every time. Nooks could be an A1, A2, A4, or A5. The post office is same ones, but it has to be on the other side of the train station. That's how the algorithm it works for generating towns. You always want to get Nooks in A2 and the post office in A4 for the best possible time for running these any of these categories, really.
Mhm.
And the odds of that happening are about 1 in 5 or 1 in 6. And the reason why they're about those odds has to do with the rest of the way the town is generated. The river is a big factor. But Nooks is an A2. Let's say Nooks is an A2. There's a 50-50. The post office will be an A4. So that just is straight up a 1 in 4 to get Nooks in A2, post in A4, or vice versa. But the river affects the rest of the town generation. So it ends up being more like 1 in 5 to 1 in 6. And 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 is about the odds of a good layout for Nooks in the post. And to give you an idea of how big of a time save it is to get this layout, it takes about 6 seconds to run from one side of an acre and back. So about 3 seconds of run from one side of an acre to another in your town. And if Nooks is an A1, for example, and the post is an A4, that's going to take you let's say it takes you, ignore the time it takes to run within the Nooks acre, the time it takes to run within the post acre, that's a separate factor. Just to get from A1 to A4 from one side to the other is going to take 6 seconds. You have to run 3 seconds through A2, 3 seconds through A3, and then run back is another 6 seconds. So that's 12 seconds, excluding the time you run within the acre itself. Now let's say Nooks is an A2 and the post is an A4. It takes you 3 seconds to run from one side to the other and 3 seconds back. That is twice as fast. It takes you 6 seconds, twice as fast for one small difference. And if you're running between these acres, a dozen times, that's a whole minute. That's more than a minute. That's more than a minute. That's a whole minute time loss simply because you have a less than perfect town to start off with. So a lot of Animal Crossing speedrunning is actually RNG to have a good town setup. So unlike games like Super Mario 64 where it's purely skill based with, well, that's not true. There's still lots of RNG in Mario 64, especially for longer categories like 100%, but it is a minimal amount of time loss compared to Animal Crossing RNG. Like 30 seconds for Super Mario 64 from best to worst RNG throughout a 100% run, I think, something like that. For Animal Crossing, we're talking 30 minutes for best and worst RNG for an all deaths run. 30 minutes is a little bit of an exaggeration for all deaths, but 10 minutes for sure. 15 minutes, I think, would probably be worst case. And that's not an exaggeration. That's probably about right. Well, for all deaths, I think 10 minutes is probably closer. But yeah, anyways, it is a big difference. A lot. It's a lot. So for GDQ runs, I'm very glad that GDQ accepted Animal Crossing despite the heavy RNG element. Because, like I said, it could be a 10-minute time difference between best and worst case RNG. And for a scheduled event, such as GDQ, that the estimated time you could be completely off for an Animal Crossing speedrun just from RNG. So Force Ride obviously knew all this. And so I don't remember his estimated time. I think it was like an hour 10 or something. That was like worst case scenario, plus messing up the duplication setup. He achieved it much faster than that, but he factored in the heavy RNG element that Animal Crossing has.
Yeah.
So all of this is important to understand how Animal Crossing speedrunning is so different from many other games where RNG is a major factor, but there's also a huge level of skill as well. So you have to work with the RNG and you have to work with your own skill. And there's, like I said, every category has so much detail that being able to pull off a good time requires patience for the RNG to line up and skill to take advantage of the opportunity when the RNG does line up. And to just have, there's little time saves here and there that seriously add up, like efficient text mashing, knowing how to set up the duplication setup quickly and efficiently, knowing when to, how to run from one acre to another in an optimal manner. Like all that stuff that doesn't sound important, it is. It adds up. Seconds turns into minutes, and you could have a minute time difference just from mashing text alone throughout an all deaths run. Yeah. So 2015, all deaths made into the spotlight for Animal Crossing speedrunning. And there is still so much more to talk about, but I wasn't sure if you had anything you wanted to say, GTAs, or I don't want to just talk your ear off.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm here to do, is have my ear talked off, so.
I also want to make sure that I am not going off on too many unnecessary tangents that aren't you can guide the interview in such a way that to whatever format you think is best since you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, but also how I've always done it is I just listen and the guest yaps as much as they want. So I mean,
okay,
this is business as usual, honestly.
Okay, good. So this is how it goes. Great. I can
this
keep
is
yapping.
how it goes. But
great.
I guess with the GDQ run, so this was obviously, was this the first Animal Crossing game at GDQ just in general as well?
Yeah, I believe it was actually.
Because
I know,
I don't know how the other games differ. Obviously, your specialty is the first, but
that is my specialty. I believe there was a Wild World run at some point, but I think it was later.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that from the best of my knowledge, this was the very first Animal Crossing run of any of the Animal Crossing games in the series to be featured at a GDQ.
Yeah, and yeah,
I
again, that is a big
believe.
deal because of the RNG factor. So
Yeah. Exactly. Now, Wild World, it's interesting you mentioned that. In recent times, I believe there was a Wild World run because Kyler discovered arbitrary code execution in Wild World,
oh,
which allows you to complete 100% category in like 24 minutes or something like that
oh my
with
god.
arbitrary code execution.
Okay.
Yeah. Letter header glitch. Now, like I said, my specialty is the original, but I do follow the other Animal Crossing speedrun scenes to a small extent, and I still am familiar with every Animal Crossing game, some more than others, but
Yeah.
so I'm still aware of this stuff, but I couldn't rattle off for hours about the intricacies of Wild World like I can with GameCube.
Yeah, I understand.
But yes, yeah. So 2015, to the best of my knowledge, was the very first Animal Crossing featured of any of the games in the series at any GDQ. And there's been a few since then. I think, did Pocket Camp actually get a AGDQ or a
Pocket
GDQ?
Camp.
Yes,
Interesting.
for the mobile app.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I haven't. I don't recall, but
I think there was a submission for it,
oh, okay.
but yeah, there
I'd
was
be very
City
surprised.
Folk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. There was City Folk featured at the GDQ, I believe, and I think there was a Wild World, but I need to be fact checked on that one. That one I'm not. I don't know for sure.
I think there was
Some of
one
the
fairly recently, which is what made me think about it. I forget which game, but and then
yeah, I think
obviously
it
there's a
was
lot of
City.
more side events too that it could have also been in. I know certain GDQ trackers only keep track of like mainline events, but there's a lot of, you know, kind of more sideline events that, you know, still kind of count. So
Yeah.
it's just hard to know for
I know
sure.
that I know that Drew Pag, who's a more recent speedrunner for Animal Crossing, did City Folk recently with someone.
Hmm.
Um, Let me look. I don't know if it was a side event or a main event is the
Yeah, I'm
thing.
trying to, because
It was a main event. It was a main event.
okay.
It was earlier this year, and I've been extremely busy, so I did not get to
Oh,
participate
okay.
in
That
chat
was
this year.
this AGDQ, like this year.
It
Okay.
was, yeah, it was this AGDQ. But like I
That
said, I've been
that
moving
explains why I
and
was thinking about it. I was like, I swear I saw something. That must have been
yeah.
it then.
I
Okay.
remember there was discussion of it, but I never. But yeah, now I need to watch that
Well, there you go.
because I love City Folk.
Sick.
Yeah, shout outs to Drew Pag for actually bringing me back to some of the categories recently in Animal Crossing GameCube speedruns. For by beating some of my ancient times in some of the categories, I revisited them to reclaim them.
Gotta love competition.
Yeah, I
It's a
love
strong
competition.
motivator. Yeah.
100%. I would love more competition. the the main player now with I still have the most records in the Animal Crossing speedrun categories on speedrun.com, including all debts and Goldenrod was my favorite one, but I've got a few others. Aside from me, though, the only other person with the most is Cold Eggman. So shout outs to Cold Eggman for also pushing me to improve my times in several categories over the years in Animal Crossing speedruns. So as far as competition goes, at the highest level, it's me, Cold Eggman, and Drew Pag. And yeah, there's technically, it's if you know Shamana, who's a Twitch streamer, Shamana for some reason has a record, got like a 1 in 20,000 chance record in chores and credits, and has held that title for 6 years, and probably will never get beaten, to be honest.
Okay. Since you're bringing that up, why is that?
Yeah. Like I was mentioning, remember how I said the post office and Nooks have to be an A2 and A4?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 1 in 5 or 1 in 6, no problem. There's more to the town generation. For, like I said, the river is a big factor, but one of the biggest factors for chores and credits in any category, really, but especially, I mean, yeah, any category, but chores and credits is such like a fast category. It's pretty much required for getting record now, is villager placement.
Mm.
So throughout the chore process, when Tom Nook will assign you chores, you run to Tom Nook's. He says, go deliver this. You're a delivery guy. You deliver that. item to a villager, and you run back to Nooks and say, I did it. I'm ready for my next job, basically. So you run back and forth over and over. So there's 6 villagers that will be in your town when you load it up for the first time. So there's 6 different villager personalities, so you get one of each. And Nook will have you do things like plant flowers that have nothing to do with the villagers. Mail a letter. That's why going to the post office is so important, of how close the post office is. And then another one is villager delivery. So you have 3 chores where you deliver something to villagers, and throughout that process, Nook will be like, deliver this furniture to this villager. And you have to go find that villager in town, hand them a piece of furniture, and run back. Next one's find this villager, deliver them a carpet. This villager, deliver them an axe. Anyways, where the villagers are in town, they can be anywhere from B1 to F4 or E5. It can be anywhere within those acres. And like I said, it takes about 3 seconds to run from one acre to another. If Nooks is in A2, ideally, and you have a villager in F4, to get from A2 to F4, there's at least one cliff that you have to navigate down, and that cliff has 2 slopes that allow you to run down it. So there's 2 like points along this cliff side that you can run down to get to the lower level. There's some towns that have 3 levels or 2 cliffs, and those are even worse. And then there's even some edge case acres where normally the cliffs are supposed to be on opposite sides of the river, so that way you can get to either side of a town regardless of which side of the river you're on. But there's some rare edge cases where you can actually get 2 slopes on one side of a river, and there are situations in this case where it could take you, I'm not even kidding, let me count really fast. Let's say Nooks is in A1 and the villager is in B5. Oh no, wait, hold on. There's cases where it can take you 15 different acres to get from Nooks to the villager. I think 15 is the max. I actually need to run the math on that. It could be 14 or 16, but it's around 15. And if it takes 3 seconds to get across from one acre to the other, that is 45 seconds to get from point A to point B, and then 45 seconds to get from point B to point A again to go back to Nooks.
And the
So that's a
minimum's
minute
1,
30.
right?
And the minimum is 1. Yes.
Great.
You can run from Nooks to a villager in 1 second. Actually, 2 seconds is the minimum time. You could actually do it in 1 second if you get really lucky. So it could vary from 1 second to a minute 30 for one of the 3 chores, depending on your town generation and where the villagers are placed. So if in Shamana's case, where he got a record of 12 minutes and 35 seconds for chores and credits, starting from a brand new town when you press start on the demo screen to final time when you press A to listen to KK Slider to view the credits, 12 minutes, 35 seconds. So that means he completed the intros, he completed the chores in like 12 and a half minutes, and then 5 more seconds to run from Nooks to KK Slider. Well, actually more like 15 because you have to run over to Nook or run over to KK Slider and talk to him. So actually even a little more, but I forget the exact time. Anyways, he accomplished this because he got the perfect villager placement and the perfect villager chores, because Nook will randomly choose the villagers you deliver to. They can't be the same villager, but they're still, of the 6 villagers, you'll get 3 random ones Nook will have you deliver items to. And in this case, Shamana got the perfect setup, because you also have to greet all the villagers before Nook will assign you chores. So not only do you have to complete these chores for Nook by talking to these villagers, you also have to greet every single one of them. So the greeting process can also be a significant factor of time. If all the villagers are really close to Nooks, you also have to go to Tortimer at the Wishing Well, which is always on the 2nd level or 3rd level if there's a 3rd one. So that takes the most time. But if all the villagers are next to Nook, you can talk to every single one of the villagers really quickly. But if they're all scattered around town, you have to run all around town and find them all and talk to them all. And it could be a difference of like 2 minutes just from the greeting the villagers part.
Hmm.
So after you've greeted all the villagers, you still have to complete the chores for them. So Nook still will pick out of those 6 villagers, 3 of them you deliver to. And you obviously, in a speed run, you want the 3 closest villagers. And it goes a little deeper than that. But the 3 closest villagers are what you want. And it's a 5% chance that Nook will pick the 3 closest villagers. 1 in 20 to get the exact 3 you want. Doesn't matter what the order is, but the exact 3 villagers that you want. And that's not even factoring in one more element to time saving for villagers alone. So Shamana got the 3 perfect ones. Absolutely, they were all bundled together in 1 acre. The max you can have in 1 acre is 3 villagers, and they're all below Nooks.
Hmm.
The odds of that happening are 1 in 20,000, roughly.
Jeez.
It's actually more than that because Nook has to pick all 3 of those as well. So the odds of getting the 3 villagers below Nook plus Nooks in B2 or B4 and the posts in A or Nooks in A2 or A4 and the posts in A2 or A4, it's closer to like 1 in. It's not quite a shiny Pokemon, but it's closer to like 1 in 2,000 to 1 in 4,000. And also to have the other villagers nearby. That's important to factor that in. Because if I think we ran the math once, it's hard to say for sure, but exactly having a group of 3 villagers right below Nooks is about a 1 in 1,000, and then having the other 3 villagers nearby is like it's like a 50-50 to a 1 in 4 to have a reasonable time that doesn't significantly take away more than 10 seconds from greeting villagers. So it is almost a shiny Pokemon, full odds shiny Pokemon odds to get Shamana's set up. And then you have to get a 1 in 20 that Nook will actually pick those 3 villagers.
Hmm.
So a 1 in 20,000 is a bit generous. Or not, no, the opposite. It's a bit well, yeah, it's likely more than 1 in 20,000, but that is the lower end of the estimation for the odds of Shamana's run.
So a tad unlikely.
A tad unlikely, yeah, just a little bit. And on top of that, there's one more element. Which villagers you get of the 3 are also important because, like I said, you get one of each villager personality, and each personality has unique dialogue for each of the chores. And why that's important is because some of the dialogues take longer than others. Some of the villagers yap on forever, like I do, about the item they just got. And it can be a difference of 5 seconds or more per dialogue. So you could have even the villager personality you get, depending on which chore you get for the villager, could make a difference of 20 seconds between. That's a little dramatic. 15 seconds for the dialogue alone. So let's say you get a peppy personality. That's like just a certain type of personality. They take like 8 seconds for giving them an axe. Or no, I'm sorry, a carpet. No, yeah, we'll go with axe. It takes like 8 seconds for a peppy personality to go through the axe dialogue. It takes a snooty personality like 15 seconds. So about twice as long. And so you could lose 8 seconds just because you got a bad personality to deliver the axe to. So there's so many layers of RNG to Animal Crossing that it can be a little overwhelming for new players to get into the game and get a good time just because there's so much to know.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you know everything about Animal Crossing just to 100% it, there's a whole nother level of learning speedrunning strats that is just it basically doubles the amount of information that Animal Crossing has for you to learn is the speedrunning aspect of it. That's true for basically any game for speedrunning. You just dive in and you learn all the nuances of the game and what's relevant for the category. But there's a lot to Animal Crossing. A lot. Anyways, all of this to say, Shamana's perfect run of 1235 had the 3 perfect villagers in the acre below Nooks. Didn't quite get the 3 perfect personalities. Probably lost about 5 seconds to personality dialogues. But the odds of getting the perfect villager placement and the perfect personalities is 1 in 20 and 1 in 20. So 1 in 400 to get perfect 3 placed villagers and 3 perfect personalities. So it's very unlikely that's going to happen. But he only lost like 5 seconds to dialogue mashing, like 5 seconds to that. Like not ideal villager personalities, and he lost like 5 seconds to villagers interacting with each other within the acre. And then he probably lost another 5 seconds to just suboptimal movement throughout the run. So he only really lost like 20 seconds, including RNG and just gameplay.
Wow.
So that's a lot of time. 20 seconds is a lot of time, but the odds of the RNG is half of it. So really only 10 seconds to just like skill. And then 5 seconds of the skill were kind of an RNG factor of the villagers talking to each other because they ran towards each other while he was in the acre. So it wasn't even really his fault. He could have pushed one of the villagers a little further away in one segment if he knew what to do. But that information is so obscure, not even not even top runners implement that usually. So really, he only lost like 5 seconds to gameplay and like 15 seconds to RNG. So a time of 12:15 is definitely possible. You could even get a little better with slightly better villager placement in his town. He probably lost 5 seconds of that. But we're not looking at a sub 12 for chores and credits non-TAS ever. Probably it'd be like it'd be more than a 1 in a million run with perfect gameplay as well. It would be like a 1 in 10 million run to get a sub 12. Probably like a 1 in a million to get sub 12:20, and like a 1 in 100,000 to get sub 12:30.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the chores and credits run. That's pretty much that category's pretty much died. It's never going to be beaten unless someone grinds thousands of hours into the category or gets insanely lucky, which is possible. And I hope that day comes one day.
Well, I had another question, although I think I know the answer now, given what I've heard. But there's no way to manipulate any of the RNG in the game.
Nope, no way to do that.
Wow.
RNG manip is not a thing at the moment. There is no pure way to manip RNG. Now, what I will say is there is a way to predict RNG. It's not manipping it, but you can predict it. What I mean by that is that's gonna be relevant for the all debts category. You can predict RNG with a new tool that Tyler and I invented 5 years ago, and it's only relevant for a few things that you can predict. It is nothing. The amount that you can predict is extremely limited. It is based entirely off of just things that change from day to day in Animal Crossing. You can predict like when Gulliver is going to be on the beach, what day he'll be on the beach. You can predict where the golden spot may be around town, where the money rock may be around town, as well as turnip prices. And that is about all you can predict. And the reason why that is all you can predict is based off of the way the game's coded and how you can predict it using inputs in the game itself. But you cannot predict minute things like where villagers are going to be like placed around town. Well, actually, you can predict that, but you can't manip it, I should say. You can predict town generation based off of well, you can't predict town generation. No, you can't predict villager placement actually. You can use villager placement as inputs for other prediction or for other prediction like turnip price prediction. You cannot predict where villagers are going to be placed. You cannot predict what your town's going to look like. That is all generated from after KK Slider's intro dialogue at the beginning of the game. The only way you can theoretically manip your town generation, and when I say theoretically, I mean seriously theoretically. This goes deep into the GameCube's hardware. You can actually do this on emulator because the emulator doesn't emulate the GameCube's hardware perfectly. You can manip towns on the emulator, and it's not allowed for speedrunning. Speedrunning must be done on console for several reasons, just because of emulator inaccuracies mostly. But at least official speedruns. But what you theoretically can do is you can manip town generation based off of the microseconds of the GameCube's system clock. So every time you generate a town, it calls from the random number generator that's constantly running in the background every frame. Called the exact method is called fqrand, and it will spit out a random number between 1 and the maximum of an unsigned integer, which is 4.29 billion. So every single frame, there is a new seed, as they call it, an RNG seed, somewhere between 1 and 4.3 billion, roughly, and or 0 and 4.3 billion, roughly. And whatever that seed is used as an input for the rest of the algorithm to randomly generate something. So let's say the number is 5 billion, or 5 billion, 5,400,000. All right, that's the number. They use that number to determine some other RNG factor. So it's like, let's say we want this RNG to be a 1 in 4 chance. We'll say, all right, pick a number or whatever between 1 and the unsigned integer value divided by 4, and then whatever the seed value is divided by 4, or divided by, whatever. Basically, within the first 4. Okay, I'm explaining this poorly, but the first quarter of the maximum value of an unsigned integer, if your seed falls in that, it'll spit out a value of 1. If it's in the next section, a next quarter of an maximum unsigned integer, it'll spit out a value of 2, 3, and 4, so on, or 0 through 3, depending on how they handle it, how the game handles it. But anyways, that's how the RNG function works, or method works, and you can technically manipulate it based off of the GameCube system clock, because the initial value of the fqrand is determined, like when you turn on the GameCube. How does it doesn't start at seed 0? It will start at the seed. It will start at the seed based off the system's clock, and it goes down to the microsecond. So this is the GameCube system clock will read from microseconds to years. And it's just one number. It's one unsigned integer, 1 to 4.3 billion. Or no, it's a 64-bit. Yeah, that's right. Whatever the 64-bit is. Or no, it's a 32-bit. Anyways.
Big number.
It's a large, it's a large number. It's a very large number. And every moment, or every single value represents a time down to the microsecond. So the RNG value is determined from the microsecond of the GameCube. So if you can turn on your GameCube at a very specific microsecond, and you frame perfectly mash through the start screen and the demo screen and the intro scene for KK Slider, you can theoretically predict what town you'll get. That is the only possible way to manipulate RNG. The problem is, though, is the GameCube's system clock, you cannot change its microseconds. You can change it down to the second in the system menu, but whatever the microseconds were are going to be what they were before. You can't change the microseconds.
Huh.
Yeah. The only way you can predict the microseconds is if your GameCube's battery is died. And it will always start at at time 0 of the GameCube, which I think is January 1st, 2000, I think. Something like that.
So just killing
Obviously
your
at midnight.
battery before each town and frame perfect mash all the way to the town generation?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's about a 35-second frame perfect mashing as well. And
great.
It's only going to generate, you can only manipulate the town to whatever the initial seed would become. So like the initial seed may not even generate a good town. It could be a lame town. You might be able to like try to delay your inputs by 1 or 2 frames. So within reason, you could probably manip a town within like 30 frames of a dead battery GameCube. But I mean, maybe with the metronome, you could do a little more. But remember, it's down to the microsecond. So I don't know if it also involves frame perfect mashing, and if like 1 extra frame will include microseconds or not. That's some information Kyler and I were going to look into at one point. but the time it would take to generate all 4.2 billion towns, depending on what the RNG seed is at that given moment, would take, I think it was weeks with the computer with 24 cores.
Hmm.
So we didn't do it.
Fair.
But it is something that is definitely within the realm of possibility for the future. But we would also have to do lots of testing to see the feasibility of it in a real-time run.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
no, but technically yes.
Yes, but actually no.
Yes, but actually no.
I
Yep,
see.
however you want to phrase it, that is the answer to that question.
Because
But
oh,
that's a yeah,
I was gonna
go
say
ahead.
with the way it sounds like, um, isn't the clock running faster than the frame rate then? So you couldn't even like realistically time it to like frame
Correct.
accuracy regardless.
Correct.
So
That's why
no.
testing would need to be done.
Hmm.
Testing would definitely need to be done. and and let's say you delay it by a frame, does that delay it by a certain exact number of microseconds, or is there going to be a discrepancy in the microsecond system clock from frame to frame because of lag or whatever?
Mm.
That is why testing would need to be done to try to answer that question. So yes, you're correct, GTAs. That is definitely something to consider with manipulating RNG, at least for town generation.
All right. So I'm gonna go with impossible.
Yeah. Practically impossible. I think it is possible to do it if you do the frame perfect mashing and you have a dead battery. That is possible. It's extremely hard, but at least it's possible.
Okay.
But delaying it by any sort of amount of time to try to get some other random seed, that might be practically impossible. But like I said, we haven't actually looked
Hmm.
into that any further because of the amount of prep work it would take to even make that somewhat feasible. So further testing will need to be done. But yeah, maybe possible for the very first seed with frame perfect mashing. Practically impossible for future frames, but with further testing to confirm that.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
because
for any nerds out there that are into this kind of stuff, and you happen to love Animal Crossing, which you don't have to be a nerd to love Animal Crossing, by the way, but a nerd for system clocks for the GameCube and frames and microseconds, this could be a really interesting project to go down. So, let me or Kyler know. Hit us up.
well, the other thing I'm curious
Anyways, that's
about,
it.
um, because of all
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
obviously Animal Crossing originally is from the Nintendo 64. Um,
That's right.
so like, is the game a modified N64 ROM being emulated on GameCube? How does that even work?
It's not an emulated version of the game,
Okay.
but it uses the same code and it's wrapped around a GameCube library. So some
Okay.
could say that's emulation, but it's still native to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
If Kyler watches this video later, he'll probably provide a correction or a more correct answer to this. But it it uses the Nintendo 64 code in a GameCube wrap, and it uses GameCube C++,
Okay.
and so it uses C++ for any GameCube specific code. What I mean by that is Animal Forest or Dobutsu no Mori for the Nintendo 64. Also, the GameCube version modifies some of the code, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's not an emulated version, because it modifies the way it handles the clock. Obviously, it uses the GameCube clock, not an internal battery
Hmm.
like the 64 version does. And anything that involves the system processes, it obviously has to be modified for the GameCube.
Yeah.
But as far as RAM is concerned, like the way they store the game's memory while you're playing in RAM, that is all wrapped through a GameCube wrapper using the Nintendo 64 C code. So Nintendo 64 was C or MIPS. I'm sorry, it was MIPS. But
Hmm.
we can, if you compile it into C, then you can C is the source code, but MIPS is the compiled code. Anyways, so I believe it uses the source code. It uses C, so it doesn't use MIPS at all. I had to sort of say that out loud to correct myself there, because, like I said, I'm not the expert in this technical side of how the 64 and GameCube works, but Kyler definitely is. But it does not use. It uses C and it wraps it in the GameCube library, and everything involving RAM is from the Nintendo 64 code, and the base code itself is all C as well. And then anything modified is C++ for the GameCube, and any new features like the island, the animal island, museum. Actually, the museum might have been. The museum's not an animal forest, but it might have been written in C for the GameCube, for Dobutsu no Mori Plus for GameCube, for the Japanese release before Animal Crossing. Anyways, I don't know for sure if the museum is written in C or C++. I think it's C. And then anything GameCube related, specifically GameCube related, like Animal Forest that involves Game Boy Advance connectivity, or the e-reader involving Game Boy Advance connectivity, and anything system related, that's all C++, native GameCube code. Yeah. So that somewhat answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 64 code in C wrapped in C++.
Okay.
It's kind of convoluted.
Yeah. That's why I was confused. Like, would the fact that it was originally meant for N64 like play out factor in trying to manipulate any of this stuff? But because of the way they put it onto the GameCube, no, basically, because it's using.
Here's the crazy thing, though. Here's the crazy thing. There is an emulator within Animal Crossing. And in fact, the emulator was so quote unquote good, which it wasn't, but it was good enough. Nintendo repurposed it later for the Nintendo Virtual Console for NES games.
Okay, well,
Animal Crossing has an NES emulator built into it for all the built-in NES games that you can play, as well as the ability to play other NES games if you mod them in, or there's a built-in tool in the game that you can mod in or hack in, but you have to mod it in, that allows you to play a blank NES console game that's just a normal item in the game, but it will read additional NES ROMs from your GameCube's memory card. And so there is a built-in emulator in Animal Crossing that is, which is really fascinating, but it would be really, that's why I know for a fact that the Nintendo 64 code is not emulated, because it would be an emulator within an emulator, if that makes sense, if they did it that way.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting in too many layers at that point.
That would be very many layers, yes. Emulator within an emulator, which we're technically doing with emulating Animal Crossing on the PC. But it's different. It's different because it's emulating the code that already has a built-in emulator with code for an emulator.
Well, anyway, I guess the simplest version of my question was, is the way Animal Crossing work, it's being read fully as a GameCube game on the GameCube?
No.
Okay, never mind.
It is, and the reason why I say that is because you can take out the disc from Animal Crossing GameCube when you load it up. When you play the game, you can take out the disc. It is no longer reading from the disc. Everything is stored in RAM.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some games have that feature to a certain point, but it's not a feature. It's more of just a coincidence. But since the entire game is loaded into RAM, that is sort of how they handled the Nintendo 64 code. But if you do anything that involves saving to the memory card or saving to a Game Boy Advance, you need the disc back in for that to function.
So the real answer, it's complicated.
The real answer is it's complicated. This is a good segue. I've had so many good segues into different subjects of speedrunning, but this is an important one, because if you can do that, That means you can run multiple Animal Crossings simultaneously with one disc, with multiple game cubes.
Oh.
And why is that important?
Okay.
Because in speedrunning, some categories require you to obtain a bunch of items. You could theoretically play an infinite number of Animal Crossings simultaneously with, the infinite number of memory cards and infinite game cubes, both one disc. So if the rules specify you only need you have to play with one Animal Crossing disc, you could play with several game cubes and several Animal Crossing games simultaneously and get items in all of them, and then you can travel between towns to give yourself these items.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
isn't that crazy? We
Little bit.
banned that. We banned that. That is not allowed. So
Shocking.
it is important.
Yeah.
It is important to know this.
Wow.
And what's interesting is it's not actually listed on the speedrun.com rule set. It should be. It absolutely should be. Maybe it's not. No, yeah, it's maybe it's. Let me check 100%. Maybe it's under the category rules. Rules, you are not allowed to have more. Okay, here it is. Yeah, it's under 100% rules. It's not a main category, or it's not a game rule. It's you are not allowed to have more than one console running the game at a time.
That's such a
So we did include that.
fascinating thing you have to put in.
It really is.
You do not
really
hear that
is.
often,
And
I'm
yeah,
sure.
every single one of the rules for 100%, they all have some reason behind it. Some very niche, potentially niche reason behind each rule. There's ways to get pre-existing save data between games. There's ways to access a debug menu within the game itself. Yeah, all that has to be specified. In-game Nook codes, you have to use Nintendo official hardware because unofficial hardware may actually save the game faster and therefore save a lot of time during the saving and loading process. There's so much to talk about. As far as how much more to talk about, looks like we've already been going about 2.5 hours. I think I want to do a broad discussion of each of the categories,
Okay.
and maybe where Animal Crossing speedrunning is at in today's modern age, and sort of like a history of each of the categories, a broad history of each of the categories, and how it's been improved over time, and how we've had competition over time, and who the main players are. So I think we should deviate away from some of the detailed nuances that are important for the history, but probably focus on the actual interesting world records that have been set over the years and how they've been improved and whatnot. How's that sound, GTAs?
Sounds good to me.
We'll start with all debts. So I think that's a good one to start with. Forest Ride, of course, as we've discussed earlier, spotlighted it in 2015. It does go back further than that, but not by much. The item duplication glitch, which I discovered, was the beginning of this setup, or was the beginning of the speedrun category, and we've pretty much just been optimizing that setup over the years. So the reason why there may be like a 4-year gap between world records in Animal Crossing categories, especially all debts. In fact, I'll pull up the history of it. Forest Ride set the world record in 2013. The category existed in 2013, set by Bosby, improved by Forest Ride, improved by Amba Harmony, and then Forest Ride and then went back and forth for until Jonas actually took it in 2016, which is really funny to me. Glad Jonas got the record in 2016. And then the person who won't be named set it in 2017. Their video actually got like 1 million views over the course of 2017 before they removed their YouTube channel.
Wow.
But then I improved it in 2019. So I'll explain sort of how all these improvements happened. It's been the same route between the inception of it, 2013, and when I improved it in 2019. Same route. It's just it's been optimized by a it started as an hour and 6, but the first real good time was like 45 minutes. And the last time before I said it improved in 2019 was 36 minutes. So about a less than 10-minute time save. Most of that was RNG, where it takes about 4 minutes to check each town, by the way. And a good town for all debts is about a 1 in like 12 to get good villager placement and good nook and post placement. And then on top of that, you also have some RNG with getting wardrobes or music players in Nook's store or from a villager, which are required for the duplicated item glitch. And then you also have some RNG with, the chores segment itself. So I would say probably about 6 minutes of the time save from 45 minutes was RNG. The other 3 to 4 minutes was execution and optimized route. So yeah, I mean, if you do the duplication setup glitch quickly, you can save a lot of time. If you talk to Nook and mash through the dialogue optimally, you can save time. If you play on certain memory cards that are Nintendo official, you can save up to like 20 seconds. And then yeah, so that got pretty well optimized with that route. I improved the setup for the duplicated item setup with the wardrobes. I did a whole ordeal of optimizing which console and memory card was optimal for saving and loading. And I determined the original Wii with a 1019 block memory card saves the most time out of every Nintendo official console and memory card that has been created. And so that saved about like 15 seconds figuring out the most optimal console setup. And then the optimal wardrobe setup saved another minute on average. So I went to, once I got the new route, I optimized it and then I just cranked out towns and I grinded out bad town after bad town till I got a good one. And then if you can get a wardrobe or a dresser or a music player in Nook store, that saves about 30 seconds because you don't have to type in a Nook code for it. If you can get that from a Nook village or from a villager from their Nook chore, another 30 seconds. If you get a secondary one, then you can save another 30 seconds. And there's one more thing I discovered as well, which was disabling music. Nook codes have some secondary effects where you can activate different dialogues to occur. You can also, one of these dialogue commands also turns on and off music. It's from Rossetti, who will turn off or change the music depending on the dialogue he's on. You can use this to turn off music. And why that is important is because it takes about half a second to a full second for music to load when you change map scenes. And that contributes to the amount of time it takes to transition from like entering your house from like outside to inside. It takes like a second and a half to go from outside your house to inside your house. But there's no music that's loaded in your house, like background music. So that doesn't change any time. But the opposite, if you go from inside your house to outside your house, it loads the background music. And that adds about half a second to a full second. If you disable the music, it doesn't call that function. And so if it would take like 1.5 seconds to exit your house, now it only takes 1 second. Same goes for every building you exit. So if you're exiting Nooks in the post office, 20 times, then you've just saved like 10 seconds from turning off music. So I discovered that in 2019. And so I saved another like 15 seconds as well from that. And I put it all together and I saved 45 seconds over the 36-minute, 17-second run. Brought it down to 35. Cold Eggman improved by 3 seconds the following month. And then both him and I knew we could save about another minute with this route with perfect gameplay and good RNG. And sure, we were both going at it, trying to improve it. And I was off by a few seconds, but Cold Eggman ultimately improved it to a time of 34 minutes and 38 seconds in 2019 as well, about a month later. So impressive time by Cold Eggman. That record stood for 4 years until I improved it by 1 more minute, which the time I got is considered theoretically impossible
Hmm.
with the route that we've been using since the beginning of the run in 2013. The route that Force Ride used, the route that I used, the route that Cold Eggman used. I found a new route. And it goes back to when you asked about RNG manipulation. I said technically no, but we do have RNG prediction.
Mm.
And that was from a tool that Kyler and I developed 5 years ago to this date, from 2026, 5 years ago, to predict turnip prices. And I realized after a lot of calculation and route testing, the fastest route for all debts is not using glitches.
Mm.
It's actually using no glitches, and that is by using turnips in the game, which are the most optimal way to get 1,000,000,000 bells. So bringing it full circle to the getting 1,000,000,000 bells with turnips, we now use that for the all death speedrun record for the most optimal route. If we find Joan in town, I found the perfect route to find Joan, get enough money to buy enough turnips from Joan, so that way you can profit 8 times the amount you spent on turnips, and then you can use that money to carry yourself through the rest of the debts you have to pay off. And this route involved a lot of timing to determine this was faster. It also involved some more advanced Nook codes that we generated. We started generating Nook codes to save time, because the amount of time it takes to type in a Nook code can vary from 2 seconds to 30 seconds. And if you're good, about 2 seconds to 20 seconds, depending for the worst possible Nook code. And if you're typing in 3 Nook codes in one session, that's a minute time save just from better Nook codes. And like I said, this goes really deep, every detail. But Kyler and I wrote a program that there's 10 to the 40th number of different possible Nook codes that exist, which is an unfathomably large number. There's more, I don't know how many atoms there are on Earth, but it's very close to that, to the number of Nook codes. Let me take a look here. Number of atoms on Earth is 10 to the 50th. Okay, so that's still a big difference, but it's about a factor of 8 of how many Nook codes there are. I think it's 10 to the 42 exactly, which is, so there's about see, 10 to the factor of 10. There's about 1,000,000,000 times more atoms than there are Nook codes, but that's on Earth. But anyways, we wrote a program to generate the best possible Nook codes we can find. We were cranking out billions and billions of Nook codes to find the best ones. But billions compared to 10 to the 40th is nothing. So we would crank these out for weeks. We'd let the program run for weeks, and I wrote a system that scored a Nook code based off how far away the keyboard keys are to each other. So, for example, let's say a Nook code is 14 by 14 characters, and so there's 28, right? Yeah, 28. Is it yeah. Anyways, let's say you have to, and the Animal Crossing keyboard is just a sort of like it's like a remote keyboard without letters on it. So to search for something, you go over to whatever the keyboard is that's on the computer or is on the screen, and you click a button. So you click A, and then you click right 5 times, and you click down to get B, and so on and so forth for the keyboard. So it's the same thing for Animal Crossing keyboard. I scored it based off how far away the keys are from each other. And once it got beyond 6 keys away, it is just a value of 6. So like looking at your QWERTY keyboard, A to P is what, like 11 away? We'd give that a value of 6. But if it was A to Q, that'd be 1 away. If you had to go to a symbol, we'd add 1. Anyways, the algorithm spit out scores. And the best score we got after generating like 20 or 30 billion codes was a score of 24. Basically, every key was like 1 away from each other. And, we're not going to generate all 10 to the 40th codes. That will, even if you're generating 1 billion per second, that's going to take you more than your lifetime to generate them all. So we were good with that for a while. And we use that for very specific codes with dialogue options, like turning off the music or There's some other dialogue commands we had to give yourself a lucky fortune. But there was another, I thought of another way a few years later to improve the Nook code system once again, which is starting with a reverse algorithm. Basically, you give the program a code you want to start with. Because what I thought of this idea from a universal code, as they used to call them on GameFAQs, where people would try to submit their random codes they found that worked on Nook through the Nook code system. They'd submit them on GameFAQs on like some forum. So people would try simple ones like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they would repeat that pattern until they filled up all 28 characters. And if you were lucky enough, you could actually randomly find a Nook code that followed a pattern like that, because it's all algorithm based. So people did find some codes just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and change up something to test. You could test codes. Nook, if the code was invalid, Nook would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's not a valid code." But if it was valid, he'd give you something. So I realized, wait a second, it is so fast to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is so fast to type that you could save up to 15 seconds per Nook code. And if you're typing in, like I said, 3 codes in one game, that's 45 seconds. If you're typing in 10 codes, which some categories do, that's 150 seconds from just typing in faster codes that we need to find. So I told Kyler of my new idea. We're going to use the same scoring algorithm, but we're going to have a reverse search. Instead of brute forcing from some starting template, instead of using the algorithm to generate codes, which we had decoded, instead of generating billions of valid codes, we're going to generate billions of invalid codes with maybe a few million valid codes from those billions of invalid codes. And I told Kyler my idea. He said this idea is probably not going to work, but we're going to try it. I said it's going to work, Kyler. And it worked. We started with a code we know just wouldn't work. Let's say the code is all A's, 28 A's in a row, or 28 Q's in a row. What we did is we started with that, and then we changed the very first character of the first part of the code to we just changed it. We just went in a pattern, A through Z, 1 through 9 or 1 through 0, and then uppercase A through Z. And then we gave it a random possible code, and we let the program determine through the algorithm, the Nook code algorithm, if that code is valid. And if it is valid, it spits out the valid code and what the item it would give is. We repeated this process billions of times, start with different starting points, all A's, all B's, all C's, etc. And then wrote some more custom code to take the output from the valid codes that were found. And let's say it found 1 million codes that all gave the froggy chair, for example. The output would only be the best code it found. That way you're not filtering through 1 million froggy chairs on a notepad document. Mm-hmm. It will only spit out the best code that it found. And we would repeat this process for every letter, every number, start from different starting points. And lo and behold, we were getting scores of 4. Remember how 24 was like basically everything was one space away on the keyboard? We found codes of 4. The code would be like A, B, B, A, all A's. That would be ideal, because you could literally just mash the A button while you're typing in the code and then switch over to the B button, on the keyboard. Sorry. So let's do A and D so it's a little easier. You mash the A button for all A's, you switch over to the keyboard to press the D button a few times, and you switch back over to A, and then you mash the A button on the controller to finish the input. You can do that in like 3 seconds. But if you have a random collection of 28 characters, you got to scroll over, or you got to move over, cursor over to every new character, and it takes a lot of time. So this was another feature that we implemented. We spent several weeks generating these really fast Nook codes, and we can use these to type in a code for a 2x1 table in like 4 seconds as opposed to 20 seconds. We could use this code to type in a wardrobe in 3 seconds as opposed to 18 seconds. And we could use this to type in a spring metal code in 5 seconds as opposed to 14 seconds, which was the fastest one at the time. So right then and there, we saved almost like a whole minute, like 45 seconds just from faster Nook codes. And when we're talking about a 33-minute run, 45 seconds is a big deal. So with the addition of these new found time saves with my new turnip route, I was able to type in fast codes to get money, as well as disable music. And then we use that money to then go find Joan to buy turnips. We also use the Nook code to get a dialogue option to improve our fortune, which allows us to dig up a golden spot. Normally gives you 1,000 bells. It improves it to 30,000 bells. It's randomly generated around town. We also use it to find the money rock to increase the number of bell bags we get from money rocks. Normally you'd only get like 13,300, but with the good money fortune, you can get 63,000 or 63,000. So, you know, with all this extra money, we can now go to Joan. If Joan is selling turnip prices, a random price between 71 and 129, we want something above like 115. So it's about a 1 in 4. Otherwise, we're not going to have enough money to profit enough from turnips because, well, you could, but it's a little more complicated. You have to buy more turnips. Every time you buy turnips, it takes about 10 seconds. So you don't want to buy too many turnips because it's going to take you like a minute to buy turnips at a price of to buy 100,000 bells worth of turnips at 80 bells, as opposed to 100,000 bells worth of turnips at 120 bells. So you want to get a good turnip price, and then you have to get lucky, and you have to get a turnip spike the next day in order to profit from these turnips. And that's where turnip price prediction comes in. It takes about 45 extra seconds to predict turnip prices because you have to use a GameCube in order to, well, you have to use the system clock in order to change the time. You can't change the time on in the in-game clock, or else it resets the turnip prices for the rest of the week. But you can predict turnip prices with an extremely complicated system that Kyler and I made to predict turnip prices for the sake of the getting 1 billion bells in Animal Crossing without using glitches. And I could talk about that for another 30 minutes, but I won't. And anyways, this all culminates into a 1 minute time save. Let's go. 1 minute time save over 34:38 to 33:34, which is the current record that I set and is still the current record I set in 2023. All that to say, though, this route with buying and selling turnips can still save another 2 minutes if you get perfect RNG and you execute it perfectly. It could actually save 3 minutes with literal perfect RNG, but no one has improved it. Not even Cold Eggman, who is the biggest competition. It's just so complicated. Everything I've explained to you, you kind of have to understand to run this category at the top level. But if this is all overwhelming and you're interested in Animal Crossing speedrunning, start off with the all deaths speedrun with the old route with the item duplication setup. Way simpler. There's lots of videos to watch, like on the speedrun.com website record table. Just watch any of them. They all do the route, and it's a lot of fun. But if you're trying to take it to the next level, which I'm the only person that has even set a record with the turnips, the turnip route, just because of how complicated it is and how much RNG is involved. Start off with the old route, and if you really have the drive, just watch my video and you'll sort of figure out what's needed to take it to the next level for the current all death speedrun record. And yeah, good luck if you choose to do that. So that's the current modern era of the all deaths run. Current runner names we've got are me, BrianMp16. I go by MP16 on speedrun.com. We got Cold Eggman, Fro Buddy Harry. We have Nick. We have Fricks and we've got Lemons Pickrun, we've got Drupag, Curitude, and Feely Healy. And there was another player by the name of the L that I should have mentioned earlier, but I don't remember the last time he did a speed run. But those are kind of the current runners. And there's a few random people that run from time to time, which is really cool to see. Hope to see more of those players improve their times over the years. And from here, there's 9 more categories for Animal Crossing speedruns. I could talk about each one for an hour or more each.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, but very brief overview. I'm not going to go into any more detail. Golden Net, you catch all 40 bugs, and then you get the Golden Net. Very fun category. Highly recommend it. I had the record for the majority of the time that run existed. Cold Eggman did beat it last year, though, with a time of 38:45, a 19-second improvement over mine, which held for 6 years. Next, we have Goldenrod. This was the first run that I ran personally on speedrun.com, which was originally, I made it in 2013. You catch all 40 fish and you get the Goldenrod. And this one is the most RNG heavy of the 3 I've talked about so far. Fish are rare. There's 1% fish. Lots of them you have to catch. The goal was to get sub 1 hour. That was the dream. 5 people currently have sub 1 hour, which is really cool to see. Because for the longest time, only one person had a sub 1 hour, and they're the person that removed themselves from the internet. I revisited it 3 years ago and got a time of 43 minutes and 48 seconds with some improved fish strats. I could talk about those strats in extreme detail, but brief overview, you can kind of predict which fish you'll catch before you catch them, depending on the fish's behavior and of course the size of the fish. And but yeah, fish's behavior, you can kind of predict what the fish may be before you catch it. So you can save a lot of time by not catching a bunch of fish and filtering out the fish you don't want with the fish that you do want. And then you slap on a ton of RNG for 1% catches and you grind that out till you get a good time. All golden tools is the same as goldenrod, golden net combined, but you also get the golden shovel and golden axe. Golden axe is from A Perfect Town. Extremely complicated algorithm to, well, it's a simple algorithm to get a perfect town, but extremely complicated to run in a speedrun manner. I got very good at it. Only 7 people have done that category because of its complexity. Current record for golden axe is me, 18 minutes, 33 seconds. Next best is Cold Eggman with 21:49. Very fun category at a high level. All golden tools combines golden axe, rod, net, and shovel, which is a simple one. You plant a golden shovel, or you plant a shovel into a golden spot, and if the tree grows, it'll grow and it'll have a golden shovel in it. You shake it out. Get all golden tools. Another really fun category I've been running for like 15 or not 15 years, like 13 years. Let's see, when was the first golden tool run? I did, 2013, so 13 years. And all golden tools. I improved it recently. In fact, I'm the only person that's ever held the record in that category. I've improved it 5 times. And it's currently at an hour 43. 100%. This is an insane speed run. 100%. The original run was 3 days.
God.
Yeah, 3 days. 3-day long speed run. In fact, I think the first one was a co-op. And then no, first one was a solo run, 3 days. I think they slept and took breaks. It was improved to 2 days a few years later. It was improved to 1 day several years later after that. And it was improved to sub 1 day. I think, let me look. I think it was like 6 years ago. Cold Eggman got it sub 1 day. It's been 9 years actually at this point. Wow. Okay, Cold Eggman did improve it to sub 1 day 9 years ago. Time does fly, doesn't it? I improved it 3 years ago with some insane new development as far as strats go. And again, I developed like 7 different Excel spreadsheets to improve, to improve the route. I even spent like $2,000 on a complete e-reader card set to save 20 minutes, which
God.
some people don't necessarily agree with, but it only saves like 10 minutes now. And Cold Eggman has since beaten my record, so it's all good. I even, yeah, I mean, I went all out,
Yeah.
and I got yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just
I got a
agreeing.
time of 16. Yeah, fair enough. Got a time of 16 and a half hours, just straight 16 and a half hours. I routed in bathroom breaks. I routed in dinner. And yeah, it was intense. It was exhausting. If you watch my video, my voice is dead by the end of the video. I finished at like 4 a.m.
Oh my
Yeah, it
god.
was 100% Animal Cross speedruns are no joke. Cold Eggman would agree. Cold Eggman improved it with his own. He spent several weeks improving some strats as well. Not like the route, but rather just like optimizing, getting mailing letters to villagers by overlaying lines of how long the code will take on the screen to mash buttons to type in a nook code really quickly through the villager mailing system, which I can go into the detail of that, but I won't. 100% love the category. Cold Eggman said if I ever claim it back from him, he's going to claim it back. So I'm probably never going to do another 100% run, but you never know what the future holds. Chores and credits we've been over: golden shovel, golden axe, golden net and rod is all golden tools, but no golden axe or shovel. And then the last category, and I'll wrap up sort of the speedrunning history and speedrunning categories. I guess it's also worth noting, years ago there used to be some random categories like max tan, complete a wisp, like catch all 5 ghosts for wisp. Some other random ones. We've since removed them from the main leaderboards. I think we don't have like a secondary leaderboard, so there were some ancient speedrun categories that we've since removed. So that's worth noting. But the last one that we currently have is the completed museum run. And this run is really fun. This is my favorite category besides, I don't know, it's really close with all golden tools. But I think all golden tools is my favorite. Completed museum, golden axe, golden rod, all debts, golden net, 100%, golden net and rod, golden shovel, chosen credits. Sort of my order of my favorite categories. Everyone's is different. Complete museum, second favorite run. This one is you complete the museum. You catch all the bugs, all the fish, get all the fossils and all the paintings, and you donate them all to Blathers, who will display them in a museum. The current record is 6 hours and 44 minutes set by myself last year, and the original run was set by Cold Eggman with a time of 15 hours, which is pretty neat because the 100% run that Cold Eggman currently has, the current time for the 100% run is 14 hours and 46 minutes. And Cold Eggman's first completed museum run was 15 hours and 8 minutes. So Cold Eggman now has a faster 100% runtime than his original completed museum runtime, which I think is pretty cool. I improved that run 7 years ago to a time of 10 hours and 27 minutes, and there's sort of been a chase to get the first sub 10 hours. A very slow process, but another person who's never had a record before by the name of Zale tried to get the first sub 10 hours, but got 10 hours and 15 minutes and was not able to improve it after that. I saw that time, and a year later I was like, I got to improve the run. So I got the first sub 10 hours in 2021. I improved it to sub 8 hours with really good RNG. Cold Eggman beat it by 6 minutes in 2024 with a time of 7 hours and 50 minutes as opposed to 7 hours and 56 minutes. And then I said, I gotta finish this. I said just over a year ago to date, I improved the time to 6 hours and 44 minutes with a new painting strat I found with Crazy Red, where I could force Crazy Red to spawn in the same acre over and over and over again on sale day with a new discovery. Ironically, that's not where all the time save came from, but it did improve the ability to continue the run and get a good time. Ultimately, I just implemented a ton of strats to get paintings quickly and optimally that were extremely high level strats to improve your odds of getting a very specific item based off of what item group you got from your town generation, because items can either be in group A, B, or C, and there's 6 paintings, 2 in each group. You can improve the odds, or you can improve the odds of different groups depending on what furniture you place in your house, depending on the feng shui of your house. So if you can max out your goods power is what it's called, which is your furniture power. There's also money power, which is your money luck. You can improve that by placing certain items in your house based off feng shui: red in the east, green in the south, yellow in the west, orange in the north. Red is the goods power or the furniture luck. So by placing certain red items, there's also special items, which are an all-encompassing one. So either special items or red items in your house, you can improve or unimprove your goods power, which will change the odds of items from item list A, B, or C appearing in your town whenever you obtain furniture through the Nook furniture, through standard Nook furniture, whatever system you can get a Nook furniture item from. So by changing, you can also do a negative goods power, which can slightly improve the uncommon list. So you can, let's say I get 2 items from my common list. I can improve my goods power to improve the odds of items from the rare list spawning, or I could decrease it to improve the odds of the uncommon list items from spawning, because you can get items from your rare list through other means that you can't otherwise get items from your common list or uncommon list from. So with all of these strats, the paintings take the longest. Most people would spend about half of their completed museum time collecting the 15 paintings just because of how hard it is to get one specific piece of furniture in the game. But with my new strats, I was able to get all the paintings in it was still about half the time, but a little less, maybe like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, as opposed to 12 to 13 hours, for example. And then of course I had the record in Golden Net and Rod at the time, so I implemented all my strats to catch bugs and fish quickly, and then the fossils I would just collect throughout the run, and I had strats to reset for fossils to improve to save time getting the fossils. But at the end of the day, heavy amount of RNG for completing museum, probably just as much as 100% run, and it requires an insane level of skill to know how to change your odds of getting furniture to spawn, as well as where to get the furniture and how to get Crazy Red to stay in one spot on sale day and not mess that up. And you also have to set up the item duplication glitch to get infinite money for Crazy Red on sale day. So lots to it. Second favorite category. Very happy with my run. And I think completing museum pretty much wraps up all of the categories into one nice little bow. All debts at least for the item duplication setup, you have to get money. Golden net, you have to get all the bugs. Golden fish, all the fish. You don't need golden axe or golden shovel, but those aren't too complicated. And then even 100% by obtaining by obtaining specific items in a very specific manner. So complete museum wraps up all 10 of the main category, there's 5 main category runs, 5 extra ones, all 10 of the speedrun.com categories that we have to date. And I currently hold 6 out of the 10, I think. Let me confirm that. My record was 7 out of 10. Let's see, I've got all debts, golden rod, all golden tools, golden axe. Oh, Cold Eggman took my golden net and rod. I forgot that. And then complete museum. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 5 right now. Dang. Yeah, I had 5. I only have 5 at the moment. I have half of them. I had all debts, golden net, golden rod, all golden tools, 100%. Golden axe, golden net and rod, and completed museum. I had 8 at once. Now I'm down to 5 thanks to Cold Eggman. Cold Eggman took my golden net and rod by 10 seconds. He took my golden net by 19 seconds, and then my 100% by an hour and a half, which is very impressive. So down to 5. I was trying to reclaim golden net and rod, and I would have gotten record, but my 1019 block memory cards got corrupted, so I used a worse memory card, and the worst memory card adds about 15 to 20 seconds to the run. So I'm 10 seconds off from Cold Eggman with an inferior memory card. Would have gotten my record back if it wasn't for that. But that is part of the speedrunning of Animal Crossing speedrunning. It's just part of it. And I think that pretty much wraps up where we're at today in Animal Crossing speedrunning, the history of it, my history of Animal Crossing speedrunning as well as other speedrunning categories. And yeah, I think it wraps it up pretty nicely. I don't know if there's anything I missed really, but that's sort of my story of speedrunning, and then the story of Animal Crossing speedrunning, as well as challenges and whatnot. But there, yeah, like I said, there's a lot more to the
Mm-hmm.
history of Animal Crossing, a lot more details in every category, and there's a lot of challenges I could go into, but I think we'll leave it at that for now. We're at the about the 3 hour mark.
Yeah. Um,
So
yeah, there were a few other things I wanted to ask though.
please do. Yeah.
So when it comes to speed running, when you started Animal Crossing, did was that kind of like all you did from that point forward? Was strictly that game?
Definitely not.
Okay.
No, I've been playing Ocarina of Time, Pokemon, Super Mario 64, and several other random games, but those are the main ones that I've been playing ever since. Fun fact, I invented the Professor Oak challenge for Pokemon, just the Pokemon series as well. I am the original creator of that. I called it the MPGD challenge, Max Pokedex Gym Delay Challenge, and I completed it in Crystal in, see, when did I do that? 2014, I think. And I did it again in Emerald, and that started in 2007 with Red and Blue. But I have a history of that. And then lately I've been working on my Garyoke Kaizo challenge, which I won't explain that in too much detail, but it's an extremely complex Pokemon challenge for Gen 1 and now Gen 2. For Legend of Zelda, I love the randomizers. I've had bounties for completing really complicated tasks in Ocarina of Time because I felt there was a lull in the Ocarina of Time community in like 2015, 2016. So I offered a $1,000 bounty to anyone who can complete this task in Ocarina of Time, which someone did, and I paid them, of course. They did as a team. And then a year after that, the randomizers came out. So I like to think I contributed towards the overall hype and interest in Ocarina of Time challenge runs, and that led to the randomizers. But obviously, that's kind of a bit of a stretch. But I obviously, love playing Ocarina of Time randomizers, Majora's Mask randomizers. I've spent hundreds of hours doing that since they came out. Um, so Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, big games for me. I'm also huge into VR. I worked off of Kaze's skeleton version of Ocarina of Time VR, and I fully implemented all of the available tools we had, and as well as some of my own custom ones to create the Ocarina of Time VR experience as we know it. I also did the same thing for Majora's Mask from scratch, so that's all my code. And then I started Twilight Princess VR, but there wasn't a fully decompiled Twilight Princess at the time, so it was too difficult to mod Twilight Princess to the extent for VR. But there is some free look camera stuff in Dolphin VR. But anyways, I have a lot of history with VR as well, and I've spent thousands of hours in VR personally in various games. And then yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've been making videos on in the last 6 years. But my most popular subject is Animal Crossing. So that's my bread and butter. But I still have a lot of things that I am very passionate about as well. So more than just Animal Crossing, but that's where most people know me from, at least
Mm-hmm.
in modern day.
Okay. And then I know went over most of the Animal Crossing challenges, but obviously I know the big one was the, 100% for real, I guess. But
Yes. Yep.
kind of
That's
talk about
correct.
that a bit because I know that was huge
Yeah,
when
there's
that
also the
happened.
no. Yeah, so that one, it started off with just a billion bells. I explained Kyler and I made the turnip price prediction program.
Mm-hmm.
The exact details for that program are very important, but I'm going to spare you guys the details. You can find that You can find the link to that on there. We have GitHubs for it. You can just find it online. I don't know if like I have my own Discord channel that has all this information as well, but we have it all publicly on GitHub for those that don't like going to Discords for information, which I respect. Anyways, the turnip price prediction program basically just takes inputs from the game from day to day from Nook's store, and using those inputs, you can predict turnip prices on Sundays, and then what the prices are going to be from Monday through Saturday. Very high level explanation with that. The exact details are very complicated, but it started with me discovering that it was even possible to predict prices. The reason why we predicted the prices was because I spent 42 or 46 hours losing money buying and selling turnips when I was trying to go for 1,000,000,000 bells. And I didn't want to give up. So I realized I had the computer programming background knowledge to determine if it was possible to predict turnip prices, which had never been conceived or considered before. And then Kyler has the decomp knowledge of Animal Crossing. So we worked together, his decomp knowledge to decompile like probably like 20 different functions through PowerPC assembly, or just whatever it was assembled to. I think it's PowerPC. Whatever the name of the assembly is for Animal Crossing. It's not MIPS, that's Nintendo 64, but I think it was PowerPC. Anyways, he used some other program that made the readability of the source code a lot better. Not the source code, the readability of the compiled code better. Anyways, he decompiled all those functions, and we were able to basically recreate the functions of Animal Crossing needed to predict turnip prices. So that was very important for the challenge. The challenge would not have concluded probably if it was not for that turnip price prediction. And then after that, I spent let's see how long, like 150? No. Yeah. No, like it was like it was like 140 hours of buying and selling turnips from there on out. So it was a long process, just straight up buying and selling turnips while predicting the turnip prices. That was the first half of the challenge, was just getting the 1,000,000,000 bells for the post model. The second half was getting the rest of the items, and then I defined some additional rules, like you have to. I wanted to collect one of every item, even if it didn't appear in the catalog, and I also wanted to 100% all the NES games, and I defined that as from whatever is saved to the memory card. So like in the NES game Punch Out, nothing is actually saved to the memory card for Punch Out, so you don't even have to play it to 100% it, according to Animal Crossing. So some people are like, why didn't you defeat Mike Tyson in Punch Out? I'm like, well, because it's not saved to the memory card. Punch Out uses a system of codes, and every time you defeat one of the fighters, you get a code that way you can resume at that fighter for the next time you play. Anyways, that was just some rules that we had established for what is 100%ing, and it's very interesting. I think it's worth noting that I ran a fundraiser during the end of my 1,000,000,000 bells challenge to help animals in need that were displaced from a natural disaster around the time, and I wanted to do something helpful for the community and not just keep boasting about all my Animal Crossing achievements. I didn't want to just be like a boaster, I wanted people to engage and contribute and be a part of the community. I didn't just want to be like a king of Animal Crossing. I wanted a community. And there's obviously Animal Crossing communities, but like speedrunning community, challenge community, I wanted to bring people together. So my streams alone were good for that, but I wanted people to be like, how can I contribute? How can I help out? How can I be a part of this community? So I ran a fundraiser, and we raised like $800, which is commendable for a weekend. People could donate for me designing patterns at the Able Sister, me creating, like, they could be a raffle for a new character name for one of the 4-player characters you can create, as well as like custom letters I could write to them through the in-game system, and just some fun little things like that. They could choose some decorations outside and whatnot. And so I created, like, I didn't just 100% Animal Crossing. I also sort of created a town, a community within this file through this fundraiser, through my stream. So what we had, like, I created, like, I don't know, like 10 different patterns that I placed around town that were recommendations, that were not even recommendations. They were donations from people to create. So an example would be one of the villagers, my least favorite villager. They wanted, people found out who my least favorite villager was and wanted me to create a beautiful portrait of my least favorite villager, and so on and so forth. So that was just one example. And it really brought a lot of people together. A lot of people watched my stream. A lot of people watched the video for my 1 billion bells. I really wanted to create a good product that people could watch and understand my 1 billion bells achievement, as well as the 100% achievement and everything that was involved with it. And that's not my most watched video to date, but it is my most proud video to date. It has, like, I think it's like 600,000 views for one, or maybe combined, I forget. But I have a few videos from ancient times that have over 1 million views between Pokemon and a Yu-Gi-Oh video randomly. But I want my Animal Crossing video to be my most watched and most popular one. And I think it will get there one day. So if you're referring to that 100% video for like an Animal Crossing challenge that you're aware of, that's the one that that we're talking about right now.
I got it.
And yeah, anyways, it was a fun challenge. Brought a lot of people together, and I hope it continues inspiring people for years to come.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you got to make a nice content piece, as you were just saying about it, but I definitely watched it. I just forgot. How long did the whole process take for that?
The final time for completing the 100% challenge was 320 hours. Let me look. Yeah, it was over 300 hours. And the turnips alone were just under, it was like 180, and then like another 160 for 100%ing Animal Crossing. But it's worth noting about 20 of those hours were me contributing to the, or like me interacting with the community to design patterns and whatnot. So it was, in reality, it was more like 320 hours of pure gameplay to 100% Animal Crossing in the most optimal time. 344 hours is the final time. About 15 to 20 hours were engaging with the community, not important towards actually 100%ing the game.
Now, a memory I have, because I think I caught somewhat close to the end of the challenge, was there was a really big scare where you thought your town got corrupted.
That, yes, well done, GTS. You do remember that. That is correct. That is part of the story. And in fact, that story, that little part of the story probably contributed towards a lot of success for the video, as well as bringing a lot of people to the community because they were so fascinated by it. So what happened was my memory card got corrupted 1 hour before completing the main 100% rules. So it's basically a three parts to the 100%ing Animal Crossing. Part 1 was the billion bells. Part 2 was the community established 100% rules. Part 3 was my additional rules I added for fun. Within 1 hour of completing part 2, which is the main 100% speedrun, or not a speedrun, sorry, main 100% legitimate Animal Crossing like community established rules of what it means to 100% the game. Within 1 hour, my memory card was corrupted. I loaded my file, and KK Slider said, "I'm sorry to bring you down with the bad news, but your memory card's corrupted, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're gonna have to start over." 1 hour, and that was like 280 hours. Yeah, 280 hours. My memory card was corrupted for the main community established 100% rules. And I thought that was it. I thought that's how it ends. I thought that's how the story ends, because I've had corrupted memory cards in the past, and I've never been able to save them. They just simply don't get saved. Something happens within the memory card or within the save file, and it just cannot be recovered. So I learned my lesson the hard way that 1019 block memory cards corrupt more easily than the 59 block memory cards. And ever since then, I do Animal Crossing challenges on 59 block memory cards, and I save my 1019 block memory cards for speedruns. That is what happened. And how did it get saved is a very important thing to note. We saved it. Kyler is the reason why the run continued. Kyler saved it. And the way we did it is I uploaded my memory card save data to the internet. I did so through a modded Wii. Some people may say this makes it a little illegitimate, and honestly, they're probably right. But you gotta give us some slack here because it's just not like we saved it. We brought the memory card back to the exact state it was in before the corruption, and we only did it by flipping one single bit. Basically, what happened was during the saving process, a bit got flipped during the saving process, either by failing hardware or more poetically, a cosmic ray zapped my GameCube at the perfect time.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
That's what we like to say happened, was a cosmic bit flip, cosmic ray bit flip. But in actuality, just like the TikTok clock upwarp from 2014, the most likely explanation is hardware failure. And it's already been proven the bit that got flipped for the TTC upwarp, how that happened. It was a bit flip in RAM. If I remember correctly, it had to be in RAM. It was a bit flip that happened in RAM, probably from a failing cartridge.
Yeah.
Likely for me, it was a failing hardware. Either the memory card itself was failing or the GameCube itself that was failing, the flash saving system for the GameCube. That is the most likely reason, but there is a possibility it was a cosmic ray, and there's no way to know for sure.
That's the magic of it.
So somehow my memory card got corrupted because one bit got flipped during the saving process. So when the game loaded there's what's known as a checksum, which is basically a sum of all of the bits in RAM or that is saved to your save file that is pulled from RAM, and it saves it into one long string of alphanumeric hex code numbers. It's basically one giant number that's converted to a hex value. And then then when the game loads, it does the same process, and it'll load up your save file, and it'll sum up all of the bytes that comprise your save file and sum it up into one value, and it'll compare it to the checksum value. And if those values don't match, it compares it to a backup checksum value. And if those values don't match, the game is corrupted because it's saying that if the game were to try to load in this state, there's a chance it would corrupt the memory card, basically. Or it would at least load an invalid save file. So the game essentially says that the code essentially says the game is corrupted and it will refuse to load. Now, the GameCube emulator, if you load up, it'll do the same thing. But if you load up the save file, like I said, I uploaded it through the Nintendo Wii, through GCMM, which is GameCube Memory Manager. It's a mod. And then you can back up your memory card save files through that, which allows you to upload it as a GCI file online, or somewhere online, and someone can grab it and use that for whatever, their own emulated games or their own save files on the console. I uploaded it through that. Kyler grabbed it, loaded it up with his tool he created called ACSE, and he couldn't figure out where the corruption was for the longest time. He said that your file should load. This is a mystery. And we eventually compared it. I forget exactly how he did it. He did some magic where he compared one of the backup files with the file was trying to load, found the checksum was different, and was able to determine where the checksum was different, or where the save file was different. And I think he did it by comparing the save file to the backup save file that the game has. And Kyler would know the exact method because I was panicking in my mind right now. Like, imagine you spend 300 hours on a project and it just vanishes right before your eyes. You know, I am shaking at the moment.
Oh, I remember.
Yep. It was terrifying. And then what he did is he did some magic to determine where the error was. It actually took him about 3 tries because the first time I loaded in my other save file that he provided to me that was corrected, he basically took one of my backup save files and it loaded in with like one change, but it led to another error. And I said, "We can't use this, Kyler. The file you gave me is different than the one that I originally had. I saw one corrupted bit on a texture." And I said, "If there's a corrupted bit there, who knows what's different?" He said, "Okay, let me see if I can figure this out." And we eventually figured it out. A bit got flipped for the shirt that I was wearing in Animal Crossing. And basically, it converted the bit from like he realized that I was wearing a different shirt. He was watching my stream. I was wearing a different shirt from when I saved the game to what the shirt that I was wearing when he loaded up my game through his ACSE, which reads save file data. He realized like, wait, what shirt did you wear when you saved your game? And I was wearing I think the paw shirt or something. And when he loaded it up in ACSE, it said I was wearing, or rather, the shirt that my inventory said I was wearing was the bold check print or bold check shirt, which was a different shirt. There's actually 2 shirt bytes in the game that the game reads. The one that your shirt that you're actually wearing and the shirt that your inventory says you're wearing, which are stored separately. The shirt that I was actually wearing was the correct shirt, the paw shirt, I think. But the one that my inventory said I was wearing was the bold check shirt. And that is the byte that got flipped. There was actually one bit. We determined which bit it was. It was like the 6th bit on the byte of the shirt that is responsible for determining what the inventory says my shirt says that I'm wearing. And that one bit got flipped during the saving process, which caused the checksums to fail, which caused my game to be corrupted. So once we determined that, he took my save file, he flipped the bit. But you can do that in any save editor. You can load up HXD, any save editor, not a save editor for GameCube. I'm sorry, not even a save editor. Just a even notepad if you know what you're doing. A text editor, a hex editor. I'm sorry, that's what it's called, a hex editor. And he basically just took that value. I think it was a value of what was the value? FE? No, it was BE, a hex value of BE, OXBE, got changed to an OX value of or value of OXB3. And if you translate that to bit value, zeros and ones, the 6th value was switched from a 0 to a 1. Basically, he went into the hex editor, changed that value from a 1 back to a 0, and then just saved it, gave me back that same file. He didn't do anything in any program besides the standard hex editor. And then I loaded up my game just fine. No issues there. The file was saved, the run continued, the challenge continued, and some could argue that was illegitimate because we used a computer, but the save file was no different than what it was before. It was returned back to its original state. We simply corrected it. In fact, there were even back in the day, Nintendo had a service where you could send it a corrupted file or a corrupted game, and it would attempt to fix it and get your file back. That was a service I think Nintendo provided back in the 90s for Game Boy games. I don't know if it did it for memory cards, but it was something that could be done, and we did it. We pulled it off. Kyler figured it out. Shout outs to Kyler. I'm saying it's legitimate. Most people agree it is. You know, one could argue another way. Doesn't really matter. The community agrees it's legitimate. It's all good.
Yeah.
And I finished 45 minutes later.
That story is one of the most wild things I've ever heard and actually saw, because I saw that happen live.
But you were there and streamed live?
I specifically remember the wallpaper having that pixel, and you were like, "What?"
You remembered the wallpaper
Yes.
pixel. Let's go.
I do remember that.
That's awesome, GTA. So I'm so glad to hear that. Dang, that was before you did these. You were running these interviews as well.
Yeah. Cosmic
That's
must have rated
awesome.
you or something. So, but
I did get a cosmic raid.
yes,
Yes, that's
so
right. Yeah.
that's probably the theory there. But yeah, no, I remember
Yeah.
it was about to be a big deal, and then that happened, and it was like, oh, but it made for a good story at least.
It really did make for a good story. It really did,
Mm-hmm.
man. And there was even another one with the corrupted or the paper airplane that spawned in my town later. But another bit flip. There were 3 bit flips that occurred during that time. Only one of them corrupted my save file though. You can get bit flips that don't corrupt your save file as long as they occur before the checksum value is written to your memory card. So I was thankful my memory card did not get corrupted again, but it did. It did. There were several issues that presented themselves later, but it only got corrupted once. And this is apparently pretty common for save files to. That's why there's backup files. It's apparently pretty common for the GameCube to accidentally overwrite a bit incorrectly. So but most of the time it happens before the checksum is created. So most of the time, backup save files that are stored on the GameCube memory card will always match your current save file. Kyler would know more about these details, but it's very rare for a memory card to get corrupted from for any reason really. But it will eventually happen as the memory cards age,
Yeah.
and it's going to become more and more common over the years for corrupted 1019 block memory cards, especially.
Yeah. There are a lot of like more.
But
Oh,
yeah,
I was gonna say there's a lot more like modern options people are making though. I don't know how
yeah,
like you know how they affect like official rule sets or whatever, but there's always probably going to
yeah.
be a solution of some sort because people like to keep old hardware
Yep.
chugging along as long as possible.
Yeah, you're correct. I was going to say the exact same thing. There are
Mm.
modern solutions, and but there's even if you are a purist, so to speak, and you only want to use a Nintendo official GameCube hardware, at least there's some peace in mind knowing it is possible to bring back corrupted towns through if you know exactly what you're doing in Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Well, and then that video that you ended up making over that challenge is your like proudest work in terms of content creation then?
Yeah, absolutely. Between my 100% video and my billion bell video, they have over 1 million views, which I'm very thankful for. They did not start off strong, and they are my proudest work of my content creation. And next up would probably be my history of the Animal Crossing HRA world records.
Yeah. So
But yep, definitely. Yeah.
what inspired you to, because I know you've made YouTube videos for since the beginning, right? But they were more just like look at this cool thing or whatever.
Yep.
What inspired like the full on edited voiceover scripted content creation that a lot of people do nowadays?
Ooh. Why did I make that? Because the inspiration for that was to document Animal Crossing at a high level. Like I've been saying throughout this entire interview, there is so much information in Animal Crossing, and I have it all in my mind. I lose random little tidbits of information over time, but I pretty much still remember stuff from 20 years ago in Animal Crossing. All that to say though, there's so little documentation about the intricacies of Animal Crossing on the internet. I was really wanting to capture a lot of this detail and put it into a nice, easily accessible format that people could visit and reference and learn from, and from an interesting perspective as well to create like to get more people to become involved with the Animal Crossing community and to put more spotlight on Animal Crossing as well. So it was a combination of just pure documentation with everything I've learned, with wanting to expand the Animal Crossing community, a little bit of selfishness and wanting more competition in Animal Crossing speedrunning, and and as well as just something that is entertaining for people to watch, just because will increase the number of people that will be interested in joining the community. And also, I just did it because for myself. I just did it for myself. I love doing this stuff. So I did it for me. I did it for others, and I did it for Animal Crossing as a whole. And yeah, that's sort of been my motivation behind a lot of the voiceover videos for sure.
All right. Well, I think that might cover everything, right? Other than like the obvious hours of detail you could go into, but I think for the most
Yep.
part, it sounds like everything, right? I mean, unless I missed something
I would say
crucial.
so. No, I think that pretty much is a good summarization of my life in Animal Crossing speedrunning, Animal Crossing challenges, and what a lot of people may know if they follow the Animal Crossing scene in the current era. I guess it's also worth noting there's other YouTube content creators that have been developing Animal Crossing videos on very niche subjects as well.
Mm.
So I guess I can give a shout out to some of those people, and then we can probably wrap it up there.
Sure.
Unless you have any more questions for me.
I will, but they're more like finale stuff, so you can go over whatever you want.
Okay, right on. Let's see, so yeah, shout out to Kyler, obviously, for all of his work with the intricacies of Animal Crossing coding and modding and decomp and now a PC port and future mods, as well as just being a good friend of mine. Shout outs to Hunter, who is pushing the Animal Crossing content to another level as far as voiceover and going into some really cool detailed information. Some of the stuff I didn't even know about that Hunter went over, like Ice Climber on the transfer packs for, not transfer pack, whatever the expansion packs for the Nintendo 64. So shout outs to Hunter for some really cool Animal Crossing content, as well as further inspiration for voiceover content. Shout outs to the entire Animal Crossing speedrunning community, Cold Eggman for some good competition, Drew Pag for keeping Animal Crossing speedrunning alive in others parts of the series, like other Animal Crossing games in the series. And shout outs to, let's see, who else? I mean, a lot of the people that give me, like other speedrunners, Feely Healy, I've mentioned, was another inspiration for me improving my goldenrod time. And shout outs to Nick, shout outs to Fricks as well. Shout outs to Lemons Pickering, Kira Tude, shout outs to Shamana, shout outs to my entire Animal Crossing community, my Twitch community, my Discord community, and anyone who enjoys my videos on YouTube. And even if it's not Animal Crossing related, I really appreciate everyone who is a part of all of this. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, it's cool we got to do this because obviously you heard my first question to you was how you got started with speedrunning. I know quite a few people that have been on the show that when I asked that question, they said it was you, actually. So,
Really?
yeah. Through like the bingo
Wow.
and original Zelda glitch videos and
Wow.
stuff like that. So, and apparently
Wow.
ABC
That
as
is,
well.
yeah.
So,
Wow. I know Cosmic was Cosmic's original inspiration.
yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, I learned Z Nernicus
Yeah.
is also was inspired by me.
Yep. He's been on
Do you
here.
remember anyone else off the top of your head? Just so I
Those are the
just
two I
out of
know
curiosity.
off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's been
Yeah,
others,
I know
but
there have been others that have told me as well. I wish I could remember their names,
when you've
but
done
that is really
164
cool.
episodes, you tend to forget exactly what everyone said.
Oh yeah, understandable completely.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. That makes me happy. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Um well,
But yeah, if
that
you're
would
one of the people that I've inspired over the years and you're watching this video, please let me know. I would love to know that. Yeah, cool.
well, anyway, that was the beginning of things. Now to the past, now to the future. The last thing I'll ask is future
Mm.
plans in terms of just anything related to the hobby.
Oh, that's a great question. Future plans. I have been trying to get back the golden net and rod speedrun record. And I want to get back to 7 out of 10 records. I know Cold Eggman's going to keep the 100% record, even if I get it back. So my mission is to get golden net and rod back, and maybe golden net back. It's probably going to be between golden shovel and golden net. They're both really tough to beat, but if I can get back to 7 out of 10, I think that's going to be my goal. The next major Animal Crossing goal, I have a really cool project I've been working on. I've done so many projects. I have my town tickets project, which is basically taking Nook Miles from New Horizons and putting them into a program that you run alongside playing Animal Crossing casually. I've already finished that. You can find that online, obviously for free. Everything's for free. And so I spent like a year on that program. Really fun. The next program I'm going to make is going to be an Animal Crossing roguelike. What that means is what that means is whenever you'll have tasks, sort of like the town tickets tasks, like from New Horizons. These tasks, when you complete them, will award you with like experience or possibly some rewards that you can apply to the next time you play Animal Crossing. And what that means is the very first time you'll play Animal Crossing, you'll start a brand new town and you have 30 minutes to complete certain tasks. You'll have one overarching goal, complete chores. You'll have some other tasks like shake money out of trees or get a piece of furniture from a villager. That will give you, so to speak, experience. And then as you collect experience, you'll unlock new rewards like more time to play your Animal Crossing file, because after 30 minutes, you have to stop and you have to delete your file and start over. There's also a glitch that you can do in the game to transfer items from one save file to another. And that's just a built-in glitch in the game where you can save a letter at the post office and then you can delete your town through the in-game town deletion, like UI, I guess, the system to delete your own town. But it will not delete the saved letters. So you can transfer letters between deleted towns. And that's another feature that inspired the roguelike. And then it'll be just another system that'll be implemented with town tickets. And the ultimate goal, there'll be different goals, but like pay off your debts. You'll unlock the ability to time travel. You'll unlock more time per town. You'll unlock you'll unlock more items that you can transfer from town to town through the in-game item save transfer glitch. And so that's the next project that I'm going to work on. I have another video I really want to get out, which is my No Nooks challenge. I completed that the same year as my 100% video, but I never uploaded a video on it because it goes into way more detailed information that even the 100% video didn't go over. And I touched on it earlier with getting Gulliver items from villagers' houses, and it goes into more detail than that. I'm cycling through every single villager that exists in the game. I'm catching bugs and fish by collecting tools through obscure means of getting the tools to catch the bugs and fish, and using e-reader cards to get exclusive items that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to get before completing chores. Lots of detail there. I want to make a video on that. And so that's my next big project. Those are my personal projects. I know there's still active people speedrunning Animal Crossing. I would love to see more records in any category. I want to see more improvement to the HRA. I want to see people find new glitches. And I also want to see people continue documenting Animal Crossing as well as modding Animal Crossing. There's a big future for Animal Crossing modding. Kyler's been working on a deluxe mod, which is basically a lot of quality of life features adding to Animal Crossing, which will also branch into things like mods that would be like features in other Animal Crossing games, like hybrid flowers. A lot of this has already been implemented, but it's being implemented more and more, and it's very exciting times for Animal Crossing challenges, mods, speedrunning, and then a PC port very soon. And me personally, I want to see Animal Crossing VR because I love VR and I love Animal Crossing hand in hand. But that's pretty niche, so we'll see if that ever happens. But that's what the future looks like for Animal Crossing GameCube. In 4 years, guys, from 2026 to 2023, 4 years and 8 months, the in-game Animal Crossing clock is going to be done. It ends at 2030,
Mm.
And any years beyond that, like in the real world, 2032, 2033, and so on and so forth, you can technically still play those years, but you can never turn off your GameCube. As soon as you turn off your GameCube, or even save and quit. As soon as you save and quit and reload your town, it'll automatically go back to the year 2030. It doesn't cycle over. It just, if the year is beyond 2030 that you're playing in, and then you save and quit and reload, it'll go back to 2030.
Hmm.
So effectively, the Animal Crossing clock will end in 4 years and 8 months. So that is something to inspire yourself to play Animal Crossing. You can be inspired to play Animal Crossing before the in-game clock ends. We're probably going to make mods to extend that time. The GameCube clock goes to 2099, and there's even mods for the GameCube to extend the GameCube itself beyond that year. But we'll at least extend the time by 70 more years within our lifetimes. So
It's
but
probably
if you want to
enough.
play vanilla Animal Crossing, yeah, you never know. You never know, right? Probably
guess
not,
not.
but you never know. There's a possibility. Anyways, if you want to play vanilla Animal Crossing in the current era before the clock expires, 4 years, 8 months.
Time's running out.
Time's running out. But yeah, future's very exciting for Animal Crossing. Amazing time to play Animal Crossing. Future's great. And yeah, I mean, follow the scene, follow my channels, follow Kyler's channels, follow Hunter, and then any speedrunners if you want to stay in the loop.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of, what are your channels to follow?
Yes, of course. My YouTube channel is my name, not my real name, but is the name that you see in the thumbnail, in the title of GTAce's video. BrianMp16 is my YouTube channel. My Twitch channel is the same name, BrianMp16. Same thing with Twitter or X, but you'll find me as BrianMp16. It's fine. And then my Discord channel, it's the BrianMp16 community. You can find links for that on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BrianMp16, or on my YouTube channel under some of my video descriptions. Yep, that's where you can find me at.
All right. Well, I think that's everything. Nice.
All right.
3.5 hours of Animal Crossing and about 5% of other things.
That's right. Thanks for having me. It was really fun, honestly, to go through all of my history. I know there's a few pieces of history I wanted to visit that I've probably missed, but just because I have so much. But I think I'm very happy with sort of everything that we've talked about. And like I said, we can go into more detail, but I have 20 years of history of speedrunning, and there's a lot. So I think this is a pretty good overview.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate this interview, GTA. So I had a lot of fun just talking about all this and sort of reliving a lot of this history and summarizing it all into one video. I don't think I've ever summarized my full history into one video. So this will be something that I'm going to revisit and show people just if they're curious. Where does it all start with BrianMp16?
And then obviously if anyone wants more information, everything's cataloged on YouTube. So more information on this challenge, this speed run. Well, not everything, but like a lot of good stuff. More information, more nitty-gritty stuff can be found there. And then 20 years of history
every single one of my
featured there.
That's correct. Every single one of my speed runs that I've done is on my YouTube channel. All the video descriptions, I'm pretty good about explaining some of the details of it. And if you have any more detailed information that you want to know, feel free to. The easiest way to ask that would be in my Discord channel. And if you find me streaming live, you can ask me anytime while I'm streaming. And YouTube videos, I get a lot of. I have videos with millions of views. I get flooded with comments. I try to stay up to date with my most recent videos, but there's so many comments. I miss so many of them. I'll try to answer your questions on YouTube, but Discord is the best.
Good deal. Well, I guess that's everything. So we can go ahead and call it a day. Well, when it is midnight where I am. but luckily I don't work tomorrow.
It's Sunday.
Yeah, I know. It's Easter
Yeah,
Sunday. I don't
perfect.
work tomorrow.
There you go.
Or today, I guess. But
Right on. Yeah,
see, it is the
sounds
Sunday
good.
Speedrunner Spotlight. We made it to Sunday. Let's go.
Yeah, we're
It all
good.
works
It's
out.
Sunday afternoon. It all works out. Everything is okay.
Yeah. Well, now that it's Sunday, we can end. So we reached our goal.
Perfect.
Well, yep. Thank you for coming on and talking. I always
Yeah,
love listening.
thank you very
about
much for having me.
things.
I had absolutely, yeah, I had a lot of fun, like I said, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you, GTAs.
And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Again, all the links you want to click will be in the YouTube description if you're watching there. You know where to find stuff by now, probably. But yeah. This will conclude episode 164. Um, we'll see how high the
Nice.
number can go.
There you go. I wish you the best in that endeavor.
Yes, thank you. All right. That'll be all for today. So take care and see you next time. Bye.